Am I the jerk for not wanting my husband to go away for the weekend for his best friend's bachelor party when I'm 37 weeks pregnant? Now, the original post for this one came back in March of 2019. My husband's best friend got engaged, and my husband is in the wedding party. He's not the best man, but is doing most of the planning for the bachelor party. In his friend group, they usually do a golf weekend. Also, this is likely the last bachelor party in the group, as the rest of the guys are already married. Well, who's to say one of them might be divorced and they might go again? The stats would say that's actually pretty likely. Anyway, let's carry on. I'll stop being silly. However, we have a 2-year-old and I'm currently pregnant with our second child and due on August 25th. This was posted March 25th, by the way. When he started planning the bachelor party, I told him that planning something earlier in the summer would give him a higher chance of going for the full weekend. I originally framed it as not wanting to be stuck watching our toddler by myself for a full weekend in my 3rd trimester while he's out golfing, which was a mistake. I should have framed it as not wanting him to go away for a weekend so close to my due date. I don't know. I think that isn't a mistake at all. The way you phrased it the first time is completely fair, and if he was reasonable, he'd probably say, yeah, that makes sense to me, and I'd pick an earlier date. Anyway, let's carry on. They finally picked a date for the bachelor weekend. It's August the 8th, so I'll be almost 38 weeks pregnant and considered full term. Technically, I'll be 38 weeks the day he plans to get back, so about 2 weeks before my actual due date. The bachelor party will be about 2 hours away without traffic. On previous golf weekends, he's been terrible about keeping his phone charged, and it can be hard to get in touch with him. Also, while he doesn't drink, he does smoke, and he would most likely be smoking the whole weekend. Now, he thinks that as long as he gets someone to watch our toddler while he's gone, it's fine to go for the full weekend, 2 to 3 nights. This makes me incredibly nervous. I'm willing to compromise and agree to an overnight plus a day of golf. I'd also want him to keep his phone on and charged at all times, and ask that he stay sober in case I go into labour. He seemed to think this was an unreasonable compromise when I initially brought it up. Since then, he is unwilling to discuss it until they have finalised the plans for the weekend. I'm of the mindset that there are very few times in our marriage where my needs, wants and desires take priority over his, but that this is one of them. Yes, obviously. So, Reddit, am I the jerk for not wanting him to go to a bachelor party for 2 to 3 nights so close to my due date? Obviously not. How is this even a post? This is not a good sign for your husband, I'm sorry. The fact that you're even having to make this post is really tough. Let's get into an immediate update here because I don't even need to give my thoughts. The answer's so obvious. Update. I tried to talk to my husband about the bachelor party, and I specifically asked how they arrived at that weekend. My husband said the only requirement was that every groomsman be able to attend, and that he threw out 2 dates, one in July and the one 2 weeks before my due date. The July date didn't work for some of the groomsmen, so he picked the August date. Those were the only 2 weekends discussed, and he apparently picked both. His argument is that if I went into labour when he was at work and happened to be on a long call, it could take him over 2 hours to get home. So why is it not okay to plan a trip that would take him the same distance away? What? That's probably the worst argument that I've ever heard. I tried to explain that there's a difference between work, where if he can't get home it's because someone is seriously injured or something is burning down, and a bachelor party. He doesn't see it that way and just wants to be there for his friend. In his head, the due date is August 25th, and there's no chance that the baby could possibly come 2 weeks early. That's right, because babies are never born prematurely. We didn't get a chance to discuss duration of the weekend or the possibility of not smoking before the conversation dissolved. He got annoyed when I brought that he has a poor track record at keeping in touch during these things, although he was pretty angry throughout the entire conversation, to be honest. I tried to remain calm throughout the convo, but I did cry and I was the one to walk away first. Yeah, fair enough. After work today, I'm getting my son and we're going to stay with my parents. All right, let's jump into some comments. Now, this one is very interesting and I don't agree with it. They say OP is not the jerk. However, they also say this. I get that it's a big ask, but his best friend is getting married and he's only going to be 2 hours away. I think that as long as he keeps his phone charged and he stays sober enough to drive, it's not unreasonable that he wants to attend this event that he planned. But I also get why you're nervous. Could he tentatively plan to attend and then check in with your doctor to see how likely it is you're going to go into labour closer to the actual date? Somebody replied to this though, doctors can guess, but they're frequently wrong. Lots of women are told they'll have their baby any day now at 36 weeks and go overdue, or told there's no way the baby is coming yet and go into labour within a week. 2 hours away is unlikely to be a huge deal, but if he's drinking and has to sober up first, or if she has a precipitous labour, he could miss the birth entirely. Second babies often come faster too. Personally, I wouldn't be willing to risk that. Now, somebody else sort of replied to everything, all the comments here in general. I also, I can't quite believe what I'm reading here with the comments overall, and I'll give my thoughts on them after this, but they said, not the jerk, the comments here are just so frustrating. Yes, OP's husband will have to make the immense sacrifice of staying sober at a bachelor party. Woe is him, how could he possibly survive? I'm assuming that both parties made the decision to have another kid. In making that decision, OP has sacrificed 9 months of alcohol, getting high at parties, eating what she wants, any number of other things. I don't care if he organised and could have planned it on another day. I don't care if it's the last bachelor party of the group. OP and the baby come first. Not just when it's easy and convenient, but all the time. If my husband went to something like this after I'd asked him not to, and he missed the birth of our child, or showed up drunk or high while I was in labour, it would be the end of my marriage. I honestly cannot believe how many people are saying OP is unreasonable. If you can't stay sober for one weekend for your family, you have a problem. Now, amazingly, guys, and I can't quite believe I'm saying this either, the verdict on the original post on r/AmITheJerk was that there are actually no jerks here. And that, yes, what OP is saying is obviously very, very fair, very, very reasonable. But what OP's husband is demanding or wants as well is also reasonable, and therefore he's not the jerk. I could not disagree with this more. Let me know in the comments down below what you think, but from my perspective, I completely agree with the final comment here. OP has sacrificed so much to have the baby, and I know it's annoying, right? You want to go to this bachelor party that you've organised, but it's one bachelor party. It's really not that big of a deal. Also, the fact that you're being allowed to go overnight and have a full golf day as well, I think is a pretty great offer you've got there from your wife. You're not going to get a much better offer than that. I think a lot of women and partners, whichever way around it is, would be like, no, you're not going at all. I think that would be very reasonable. I mean, if my pregnant wife said that to me, I'd be like, you know what? Yeah. Also, I don't think this would even have to happen. You just would stay at home if you're a good person. So stupid. Why is he being such a terrible person about this? I can't quite work it out. Anyway, there's an update to this one that came 5 months later on August the 11th. So that is the weekend of the bachelor party, well, just after it. I cannot wait to see what happened. I really cannot wait to see what conclusion or what sort of agreement these guys came to. Let's get into it. So, the bachelor party was this weekend. My husband and I ultimately decided to wait until the doctor's appointment the week before the party to make a decision. If she said, the baby is coming any day now, he was going to go for the day. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law volunteered to watch our son for the weekend. And it turns out that my parents are moving and wound up moving to an apartment that is 5 minutes from our house. So they'd be around in case I happen to go into labour. I just think that's stupid anyway, sorry guys. Your husband has to be there if there's any chance of you going into labour at all. I'm saying this as a guy that would love to go to a bachelor party, by the way. I haven't organised one, and I can understand. If you organise one, it's a massive deal, and maybe it's the last one you're going to go to. You're going to want to be there, and it's going to be a great weekend. But some things take priority. It's not even a debate in my head. I put myself in this position right now with my best mates in the world going to one of their bachelor parties that I've organised. It's not even up for discussion. I can't even believe this is a post, as I've said. We're going to finish it though, even though I'm actually getting slightly perturbed by this, I'm going to be honest. Anyway, the OB said she didn't think the baby would come this weekend. So we decided that my husband would go to the bachelor party for 2 nights with the stipulation that he remain sober and be ready to leave at a moment's notice. My husband told his friends he'd be up on Friday. We were all set. Why? fair play. I mean, you know what? Fair play to the husband for having a woman like this as his wife. You've done well, my friend, is all I'll say. And then on Wednesday, all heck broke loose. Our son got a rash on his hands and feet, and it turns out that someone at daycare had come down with hand, foot, and mouth disease. He wasn't showing any other symptoms, so we weren't sure if he actually had it or if it was just a random rash. We decided to see how he was on Thursday. If he had a fever, I was going to get a hotel, because if I came down with it, then I could pass it to the baby, and my husband was going to have to stay home. Our son woke up fever-free on Thursday morning, so we were all set. Then, on Thursday night, my mum went to the ER with stomach pains. Turns out, she was also having a baby. Not really. I wonder how many of you I got with that. Turns out, she was going to need surgery. My husband was supposed to leave at 6 a.m. on Friday, but I asked him to wait until we got an update on my mum. That was a bit silly from me, but let me know in the comments down below. Did I prank ya? When I called her on Friday morning, apparently she was feeling better, so the doctor told her that she might be able to go home and schedule the surgery for a later date. I gave my husband the go-ahead to leave for the bachelor party. Except, then the doctor changed his mind and decided the surgery couldn't wait. My mum spent the weekend in the hospital waiting for a surgeon to be available. She finally was able to have the surgery on Sunday morning. In the meantime, I lined up a few friends just in case I happened to go into labour. My dad was also around, but had his hands full dealing with my mum and the move. So this weekend was stressful and it felt like everything that could go wrong did, but at least the baby stayed put. My husband got to go to 2 of the 3 nights of the bachelor party, my mum's surgery went well, and our son never actually got sick. And my husband was a lot more responsive to text than he normally is because of the whole situation with my mum. No, that shouldn't have been the reason. It should have been because of you potentially having a kid. Anyway, I'm just glad that my husband is home and that this weekend is finally over. What have I just read? Please, can some of the comments agree with me here? What is going on? Let's just get straight into them. Somebody said, I nearly got a panic attack reading this. Okay, good. It was extremely irresponsible of your husband to leave once potential hand, foot, and mouth disease was knocking about, and your mother's surgery was in the picture. He shouldn't have even had to ask you. I mean, that is the thing. He really shouldn't have done. That puts pressure on you to not come across as a female dog in this. This could easily have gone a lot worse. You just lucked out. I was a preemie from my mother stressing out. I've had really bad hand, foot, and mouth disease as an adult. And when I gave birth myself, it went from low risk to life-threatening pretty fast. And 2 hours would definitely have made a big difference. He's a father, and that means he's got to be there for you, his son, and new baby-to-be. A multi-day bachelor party cannot be a priority. It doesn't matter if you're family and friends, it's his child. I feel like you only got not the jerk because Reddit skews young enough and male enough that they don't quite internalize all the emotional labor that men pass to women and how optional men find putting in the time to be a father. Would they think it's reasonable if, at 1 week postpartum, you decided to leave the baby behind and party it up with your friends? After all, there's breast pumps and formula, so other people can theoretically do the newborn parenting. He owes you all the 4 a.m. feedings at this point to make this up. Somebody else commented, and you're going to like this one. Can you imagine if she'd gone into birth? OP, it's just me today. Doc, really? You have someone you can call? Your mum? Well, she's in emergency surgery. Okay, your dad? He's taking care of her. Any friends? Well, they're caring for my son who has hand, foot, and mouth disease. Okay, what is going on? Where's your husband again? Now see, he really wanted 2 nights with his boys. Goodness me. I'm glad it worked out, but I hope this man grows up. Somebody else said, this could be turned into a movie. So much drama with a good ending. Congrats, I'm glad everything turned out okay. Mum okay, son okay, you and baby okay. Husband had 2 nice days. Now, poop is going to hit the fan when the baby comes. You're going to be busier than a one-armed paper hanger. Now, OP did actually leave one final update here. Wow, I really wasn't expecting this to blow up. My husband and I were looking at the weekend with a sense of humour, as in, what else could go wrong? He's a great husband and father and very helpful around the house. I understand that he wanted a last hurrah with the boys before the baby comes, And I thought we did pretty well coming up with a compromise that was as stress-free as possible for everyone involved. Unfortunately, the best laid plans and all that rubbish. We're both just glad that he was able to have a great time with his friends. No one got hand, foot and mouth disease. My mum's okay, and he didn't miss the baby being born. Okay, I mean, maybe, but like, sorry. As I've already said throughout all of this story, you lot get in the comments down below. Tell me if I'm actually like just siding with the mum too much here. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. I also don't think that any of this stuff really had to happen before the decision should have been made. Like the hand, foot and mouth disease and your OP's mum going into surgery or whatever. Like, surely you should already have just been like, oh, I'm going to be at home. And even after that, like, surely at that point, when you've got the disease and both of OP's parents are obviously tied up in the surgery, he should have been like, okay, no, you know what? I do want to go to this, but I'll definitely stay at home now. What is going on? Also, why not just make yourself unavailable for that weekend in the first place? 2 weeks before your wife is due is a stupid time to organize a bachelor party. Do it on another day. Like, your wife explicitly said to you, the earlier you do it, the better, because I'm pregnant. It's so dumb. I just don't really get why the people of Reddit, and this is where I do often, and sometimes, not often, often's harsh, but sometimes I'm a little bit perplexed by Redditors when they just like come to some opinion that I just do not agree with. I guess that's the beauty of the internet. But last hurrah before the baby comes. You already have a baby. Like, I feel like you're past that point now. Unless he gets a last hurrah before every new baby comes. It's stupid. Why do you need a last hurrah as well? Like, you've chosen to have a baby. Shouldn't that just be like the most unbelievable thing ever? And also, the fact that you already have a kid, like, you're already looking after a kid. Having another one doesn't change the fact that you're already looking after one. I don't get the last hurrah bit. I don't understand. I really, really don't. I just think this guy is an absolute clown. Like, let me know in the comments down below if you agree with me on this. I just think it's like the most easy sort of conclusion to this one ever. He's just a clown. And look, clearly OP is a very, very selfless, forgiving person, but I feel like you're bordering on welcome mat material. That is how much your husband feels like he can just do stuff and get away with it because you're so nice to him. Maybe I'm going too far here. Let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, that is what I think about that one. Am I the jerk for punching my husband's ex-wife? My husband's ex-wife, who we will call Shelly, hates me, and I'm not a big fan of hers either. She is high conflict and has been putting my stepson in the middle of her rubbish since the beginning. She had him listen at our door and report back what I said. She even called CPS on me for having a medical marijuana card. Nothing came of it. She'll tell anyone that will listen that I stole her family from her and I destroyed her life. My husband had been divorced from her for 8 years when I met him. I just think that backstory is important. A couple of days ago, I took our daughter, who was 4, to the park in our subdivision to play. As I was pushing her on the swings, I saw Shelly pull up. I immediately grabbed my daughter and started walking back home. Shelly began to follow me and started yelling insults and threats at me. I dialed 911 and I told them what was going on, so we stayed on the line. She called my daughter a half-breed, I'm black and my husband is white, and then continued to follow me down the street hurling insults. I told her to leave us alone and I've called the police, but that just made her more aggressive. By that point I was in front of my house and my garage door was up, so I told my daughter to go inside and get her dad. I turn around and Shelly is running full speed towards me with her arm drawn back. I punched her dead in the throat. She fell on the ground and was gasping for air. I dropped to the ground to ask if she was okay, but she continued to try to swing at me as she gasped for air. The cops then arrived and put her in handcuffs because she started to fight them. They put us in separate areas and talked to us. She told them that I hit her first, but my husband was already outside with the footage ready to show the police. They asked me if I wanted to press charges, and I said yes. This is where people are saying I'm wrong. We live in a small town and people got wind of what happened, and almost everyone is saying I'm wrong because Shelly is 5'4", maybe 130 pounds, and I'm 5'10" and weigh about 180 and I weightlift. People are saying I should have gone easier on her and I could have really hurt her. They've also said that I've done enough and charges weren't necessary. Of course, my husband, my stepson, and my family are on my side, but I've gotten some nasty messages from people in my town, calling me a monster and a bully. I feel like I was just defending myself, but I want some unbiased opinions, because now I feel like I might have taken it too far, and I'm starting to doubt myself. So, am I the jerk here? Alright, let's get into some comments straight away before I give my thoughts, and then we get into the update. Somebody said, "You're not the jerk. You were defending yourself against a physical threat, and your actions were reasonable given the circumstances. Shelley's behaviour was unacceptable, and she escalated the situation by following you, yelling insults and making threats. When she charged at you with her arm drawn back, you had every right to protect yourself. The criticism from people in your town seems misguided, focusing on your physical size and strength rather than the facts of the situation. The fact that Shelley is smaller than you doesn't mean you should have allowed her to attack you without defending yourself. It's also important to note that Shelley's behaviour has been problematic for a long time, including putting your stepson in the middle of her conflicts and making false reports to CPS. Her actions have shown a pattern of aggression and manipulation. You did the right thing by defending yourself and pressing charges. Don't let the opinions of others make you doubt your actions. You prioritize your safety and the safety of your child, and that is something to be proud of." Another commenter agreed, "You're not the jerk. Shelley is an idiot to try and swing on someone bigger, taller, and stronger than her. And why? Because you didn't react to her insults? Instead, you asked her to leave you alone and then called the cops. Had you not turned around and seen her running towards you, ready to hit you, she could have caused you great damage. Instead, you threw one punch to keep her away. Too bad your fist is at her throat level. She should have thought about that before she tried to attack you. Do not doubt yourself. You defended yourself from someone who intended to do you harm. You didn't continue to wail on her. You weren't the aggressor. She stepped on your property and threatened you and your child. The people in your town are idiots. Fight rumor with truth. Post the footage. Show the charges. You are within your rights, period. And I defy anyone to have been in the same position who wouldn't have gotten into a defensive mode like you did." Wow, what a comment. I agree with all of that, by the way. Somebody else said, "Not the jerk. It's all recorded from the time she approached you at the park and attacked you at your home. I wonder if it's possible to charge her with a hate crime." OP replied to this, "They charged her with assault and I'm getting a restraining order." Somebody also said OP should tell her husband to get full custody of his son, which is interesting. She replied saying, "My stepson is 18 and has lived with us since he was 8. Wow, so her husband already does have full custody then. Well, I suppose maybe not, but he's lived with you for a long time now, which is good. And finally, somebody said, "Nope, you're not the jerk. She came at you while you were trying to keep your child safe. And 8 years? She needs to move on." It's a great point, really. But OP says, "I don't think she ever will. My husband is a great guy, and she really did mess up. He truly loved her, but she was too toxic to accept it. Now, I think she has a lot of regrets. Her aggression definitely got worse after I had my daughter because she wanted a girl." Alright, I would normally give my thoughts here, but I feel like I completely agree with the comments. OP is not the jerk. It's very simple. This woman is crazy, so there's no point. Let's just get into the update. Now, this was posted just one day after the original post. It hasn't even been 24 hours since my last post, but I feel you guys deserve an update and for me to clarify some things. Firstly, my daughter and I are okay, and thank you all so much for your support. My daughter heard what was said, but fortunately has no idea what it means. She also didn't see any of the physical violence that occurred. Secondly, Shelley is still in jail. Luckily for us, her family doesn't even like her, so no one's bailed her out. She also had a warrant, so she'll probably be sitting there for a while. Next, for everyone worried about my stepson. He's just my son in our house. Thank you so much for the concern, but he's 18 years old, and I've been his mother figure for the past 10. He knows his mum's antics, and he's in therapy, and he's okay. For the people that private messaged me to say that I alienated my stepson from his mum, well, shame on you. You guys have no idea what this kid has dealt with through the years, and he is so strong. I also would like to clarify that I did press charges. I spoke to my lawyer, who's my aunt, and she said I actually have plenty of evidence from over the years to sue Shelley for the emotional pain she's caused me, and I will be pursuing that. I'm going to make it hurt, so she knows that this behaviour will not be tolerated. I'm also in the process of getting a restraining order, which will not take long at all, given all of the evidence. Lastly, this whole situation has been so eye-opening about the lack of support I have living in this town. I've stayed because I thought it was best for my family, but after speaking with my husband and stepson, we all realised it's best for everyone if we move and start fresh. If anyone has suggestions of diverse places to move with a good school system for our daughter, please comment down below. I want to thank you all so much again for your help. I felt more support from strangers on the internet than I have from the community I've lived in for years. I will continue to keep you all updated with whatever I can as I continue the process. Let's just finish off with a couple of relevant comments. Somebody asked what was the reason for OP's husband's divorce from his ex, and unbelievably OP said she hit him in front of their son and fractured his eye socket. I mean, look, we already knew that Shelley was crazy, but yes, that is mental. Somebody else commented, make sure Shelley actually has enough assets and income to make suing her worth it. You know the old saying, you can't get blood out of a turnip. She sounds massively emotionally unregulated since she had a warrant out already. Emotionally unregulated people often can't hold jobs and really don't have money. OP says she is a master aesthetician with her own spa. She has money even though she says she doesn't. Somebody else commented, if you're willing to move to Scotland, we take kick butt mums just fine here. Other than that, I can't help. But you were absolutely right in what you did, and I agree, make it hurt. Teach the lesson that she best not come back for more. And somebody asked, based on OP's background, can she relocate to any city and find a job? OP says, I'm actually a private financial advisor, so I work from home mostly. My husband is an engineer and he can get work just about anywhere. Well, that is good to hear. Okay, and there we go. That is a story for now, I suppose. Now, I feel like the comments here, the comments that I picked out, sort of covered the main points in terms of how crazy Shelley is, and yeah, the fact that she is just obviously slightly messed up in the head and is still, I don't know, living her old relationship and hoping that was still a thing. I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't really need to comment anymore. It's obvious that OP is not the jerk here for what she did in defending herself on her property and defending her child. However, I do think that we need to talk a bit more about her neighborhood and how unsupportive and almost anti-OP they seem to be, and why that is. Now, I don't want to jump to any conclusions here, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to question why. Like, it's just strange that they're siding with somebody who is so obviously crazy over you. I think to side with someone, surely they must know about, like, I don't know, unless they've just heard down the grapevine that, oh, someone punched somebody in the throat and that's it. Surely you'd ask for more context there and be like, oh no, that's actually OP's husband's ex from years ago, and she's been sort of going after the new relationship for years. She hasn't moved on at all. She's pretty mental. Like, she's tried to get her son to do lots of things, etc, etc, etc. I do agree though with some of the comments, like, surely just show the footage and then be done with it, and you'd stop all the sort of like weird rumor and people going against you, which I can't quite work out why. Maybe there's more going on here, but like, surely if people know that she's been physically abusive for more than 10 years, that's enough for them to side with you, not her. I mean, I said I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I think you guys know what I mean there, but you know what, I will. OP is a black woman in a small town. Maybe that's all I need to say. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments down below, but yes, it does sound like you should probably move to a town that is a little more inclusive. Tonight, I broke up with my boyfriend because he kept joking about murdering me. Alright, the original post for this one came back in 2024 in April. During our first few weeks of dating, my boyfriend joked too much for comfort that he was going to murder and dismember me and dispose of my body. Maybe out of context, I'm being dramatic. He's very sarcastic and has dark humor. But to me, it wasn't funny and caused me anxiety because I know the statistics. I talked to him about this. I told him repeatedly, stop joking about killing me. He kept on with the jokes until I finally told him that those jokes literally scare me. He apologized and seemed to feel bad that his jokes made me scared of him. Tonight, we were over 3 hours late to meet with his brother to play games, watch movies, and eat dinner. When I was talking to him about us being late, I noticed he sighed deeply, clenched his fist, and looked down at it. as if he were making the conscious choice to not punch me. Then, as I was saying goodbye to his brother, he comes into the room and says she should say her permanent goodbyes. I asked him, what the heck? He said it was a joke. So I asked, how is that funny? What's the punchline? Please explain to me how that was supposed to be funny. He couldn't answer. I didn't even want to get in the car with him. I walked off and thankfully my roommate picked me up and drove me home. He called later and I told him I'm done. He's a good man other than for the jokes about killing me. We talked about it and agreed that he wouldn't joke about killing me anymore, but then he did it again tonight and doubled down that it was just a joke and that actually I'm the problem. I started telling him again about how often women are killed by their husbands and boyfriends, and that's why the jokes bother me so much, but he interrupted me to say, F you. So I hung up and blocked him. All of this really sucks because my roommates say I should just talk it out with him and give him another chance because they can tell I really like him and he really likes me. But I've already done that. I thought we were past the homicide jokes. Then he did it again tonight while he was angry with me, and it caused me this awful feeling in my gut that I needed to not get in that car with him and actually get away from him. I've had boyfriends and male friends in the past. None of them have ever made jokes about murdering and dismembering me, especially multiple times after I told them to stop. Have you had friends or boyfriends that make jokes like this? Where's the humor in it? And what would you do in this situation? Okay, so there we go. That is it for the first post. Let's jump straight into the comments and see what the people of Reddit said. Somebody said, and this was the top comment, you've already given him chances. He agreed to change, then he broke his word. So not only is he verbally abusive and potentially violent, he also breaks his word. You did nothing wrong. There's no humor in what he said, and abusers frequently excuse their abuse in the two ways he did. First, they say it was a joke. If you don't accept that, they try to blame it on you. You don't want to become a statistic? Well, there are plenty of men out there who will never threaten to kill you. You've done exactly the right thing. Don't feel bad about anything you've done. My one piece of old woman advice to you is to be very strict around dating men when it comes to threats. Joke or not, if a man threatens you in any way, tell him that if he does it again, it's over. Don't tolerate any kind of threats or violence ever. If the man is actually a danger, he will see tolerance as a sign that he can violate your boundaries without consequences. Somebody else said, just remember, there's a lot of murdered women that once said he'd never do that to me. Then finally, someone commented this. When I was a teenager, I would go driving around country roads and around our smallish town with male buddies from school. I'm a woman. And one night, my really good friend thought it was a good idea to make a joke about chopping me up with an axe. I got really terrified. It was just an overwhelming and scary thing to hear, and I started to cry. The immediate regret was obvious in my friend's eyes, and he genuinely looked mortified for having scared me so bad. He started apologizing, saying it was such a stupid joke, and he reassured me. In the moments after making his stupid attempt at humor and seeing the impact it had, he felt remorse and wanted to correct his behavior. Your ex didn't do this, or if he did, he immediately repeated the scary behavior again anyways. My friend never made a joke like that again. Men who actually care about us will respond empathetically to our fear response and will want to do whatever it takes to ensure we feel safe around them, especially if it's as simple as refraining from making dumb, quote, jokes. I hope you never have to see this creep again, and good for you for sticking up for yourself. There we go, that's it for the comments. I could not agree more. I don't even need to add my own thoughts here. The comments have just summed my thoughts up perfectly. If someone is making jokes like this in the first place, they're a complete wrong'un. But if they're still making these sort of sick jokes when you tell them not to, then I'm sorry, they just have to be sick in the head. Anyway, 11 months later, we got this update. Thankfully, I have moved across state since posting my original post, and I haven't seen him since. The last time I spoke to him, over the phone, I made it very clear several times. You promised you'd stop making jokes about murdering me, but then you did it again. You realize the greatest threat for women is being murdered by their boyfriends/husbands. They are most likely to be killed by men they know. He said, hey, well, F you. So I hung up. I ghosted him after that. I blocked him on everything and I alerted my employer that if he showed up, he was a threat. However, he sent me an email in an attempt to, I don't know. I'll leave you to draw conclusions because I really can't make sense of it. This is the email he sent me. He says, Dear my name, spelled with 3 hashtags. He got my name wrong multiple times and it became a joke, which is what he's referring to here. I don't really know how to go about saying that I am empathetic, as I'm a me-pathetic mess. But I do feel I can understand and I have recognized. My actions have consequences. Clearly. I thought I was being reasonable. I gave you time and space. I wasn't sure how long I needed to wait or if I should just do nothing, but I didn't know you'd even blocked me until today, as I had not called and only texted that first day, expecting nothing back. Yet now I understand. I should have known. I tried to call you tonight though, despite my better judgment. That's when it hit me hard. It's been almost 2 weeks. I know you don't want to be in a relationship with me, but I wanted to end this civilly, I could hope at least, on terms that we could both live on, amicably. Or me, since I didn't have a choice. That terrible night was booze-ridden and, unfortunately for me, the end of us. I didn't get any chances, but I made my choices, and I was cut out of you like the cancer I became, regardless of how much I remember, due to my memories being cut down by Irish whiskey and my hazed focus. You ghosted me. Now I know how that feels, as I've done that to others. I deserve this. It's interesting because you mentioned to me that I never had to change my number in my last relationship over 5 years ago because all I needed to do was block them. Dang. History not only repeats itself, but it can be frickin' ironic. I lost one of my best friends. I lost you. I've been hurting, OP. This hurt even more when I realized you don't even want to communicate with me. I would ask why, but I know it's because you hate me, what you think of me, what you think I am. Who likes Andrew Tate? Nobody. I embody that nobody. I am hate. I am Tate in capital letters. Yes, this is actually what the email said. I can't quite believe what I'm reading, but anyway. I obviously have a lot of growing up to do. I was not aware of just how much. I do not regret you or the experiences I shared, which were awesome and different than all the treasures I'd experienced with any other soul. We had so much in common, and yet the few things we didn't shaped itself into a shadow that blocked our lights. Your lights. I regret not realizing that perhaps. I was just not ready. You are so beautiful and awesome, OP, and I hate hurting you in any way, especially since you deserve so much love, and instead, I gave you fear. You, however, only gave me happiness. You made me feel wanted, so much so that it blindsided me. I haven't been that happy in a very long time, and maybe that's why I fell for you so hard and so fast, as I'd been in the dark for years, and your essence got me as high as a kite. I could see the sky for once. I was flying. I'd been grounded since I'd lost my wings a few years ago, and it showed. I started sinking in the sands of time, in bottles, in gates drowned by my fears. My brother lost a friend because of me. I lost because of me. I may be a good person that does bad things, but I did a bad thing to a good person. It scares me to think that when we do, and it will inevitably happen as it's a small town, run into each other, you will fear me, and I will fear you. I don't want that, but I made my grave, and I suppose I need to sleep in it. I will not call you again, as I did tonight, as much as I want to. You can always call me, but I'm aware that is about as real as my dreams coming true. I have respected your space. I haven't tried to suffocate it or breathe your air. I just wanted to bury myself with a little dignity today, considering that I must be public enemy number one. I'm embarrassed to admit that running into your roommates or even co-workers makes me feel uncomfortable. That I did to myself. And you, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. I know you will find someone sooner or later who will treat you with respect and make you feel loved. I am not him. I failed. But you will have that, as much as I don't want to think of it, and you deserve it as much as I didn't commit to that. I know you think I don't love you. You can ghost me, you could not respond. I don't think you will anyways. Maybe you won't even read this, which is okay. I needed to say my piece, to rest at sea. But you can't take away how I felt, or how I feel at all. Maybe that was the problem. I was too much. You thought I was just a blimp in time anyhow, and now. That blimp can finally sink in time. What have I just read? Okay, this guy is an absolute creep. Now, there are some comments from OP and from the people of Reddit that I do want to jump into in just a few seconds. But firstly, I have to say, I actually feel like I've been slightly conned here. I thought, based on everything that OP had said throughout the majority of this story, especially at the start, that this guy was pretty normal. He just liked to make a few sarcastic jokes, dark humor. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of dark humor and sarcasm, as you guys probably know. I do think it's a little bit of a step too far to then suddenly start making jokes about dismembering your partner. I'm not sure my sarcasm and dark humor goes to that length. I don't think anyone would call that humor, really. However, I was under the impression he was a nice guy. He just liked making dark, sick jokes. And then he just didn't understand the fact that you had told him, no, these make me really uncomfortable. But now that I've read that monstrosity of an email, clearly that is not the case. And this guy has some serious issues. I mean, anytime you see an email that mentions Tate in regards to anything, it's not good. Unless it's like, I don't care about what that guy says or anything he stands for or anything he does. But yeah, what was that? That's got to be one of the weirdest emails I've ever read. Anyway, as I said, there are some final comments and questions from the people of Reddit, and OP has responded and given a little bit more context. So to finish us off, let's jump into them. Now, immediately someone in the comments said the following, and this was actually heavily downvoted. People talking about this man being a sociopath, psychopath, narcissistic. To me, he sounds like a generic boy that is trying to verbalize his emotions for the first time. I don't know how old he is, but it reads like the letters of my first boyfriend at 20 years old sounded. Trying to be poetic and funny, and failing at both, and just word vomiting emotions without fully understanding them. Yeah, that's just a normal dude learning his actions have consequences for the first time. I could not disagree with that more. Firstly, OP replied to this saying he's like 40 years old, which just completely destroys whatever this comment was trying to say. But even if he was 20, I'm sorry, that's still, I could not disagree with that more. Somebody else said, now this is a bit more of a reasonable comment, I'm just glad that you're safe. I've wondered about you from time to time. Remember, there was an 11-month gap between the original post and the update. OP replied, thank you, I'm doing great. Well, that is great to see. Somebody else said, this reminds me of how an ex responded to me many years ago when I broke up with him. I broke up with him because I started getting this weird gut feeling that I didn't feel comfortable being alone with him, and he was getting very possessive and a bit manipulative. I even had a close family friend reach out to me to hesitantly share that she wasn't sure why, but she was worried about me being alone with him. He responded via text by trying every manipulation tactic in the book, from telling me he was sobbing and to please take him back, to saying I had just been using him and was a liar, to telling me he didn't know how he was going to go on with his life. His reaction made me realize I absolutely made the right choice. OP said, thank you for sharing. It's so important to trust our instincts. Someone else said, him talking about alcohol makes it make sense. All the more reason to keep him blocked though. If he's making those jokes while drunk, there's a non-zero chance that he did actually fantasize about killing and dismembering you or someone else. I completely agree with that. I do think that how you act and what you say when drunk is just a heightened version of you. I mean, to an extent, I do think that is true. Now, don't get me wrong, I've done some questionable things when drunk in the past, so I don't fully think that you are the same person or anything. I just think that sometimes if someone says something when they're drunk, actually that is what they're meaning deep down, and saying, oh, I was drunk, isn't a good enough excuse as to why you did something. Anyway, OP actually replied to this saying, well, most of the time when he made the jokes, he was totally sober, which is pretty damning. I was going to say the same. There's no way he was drunk and then said these things and then was like, well, I'm not apologizing for saying it and doubling down all when he was drunk, right? This guy is just a lunatic anyway. Somebody else said, I read through your first post. The dating phase is when you get to know somebody. Take your time to do that before more commitment. He's a nutcase. I doubt he ghosted anybody and he's trying to say things that make himself look better. OP said, we weren't together for long. I was initially attracted to him because he was cheerful, happy, charismatic, kind, considerate, and handsome. Then the mask fell off. Yeah, cheerful, happy, charismatic, kind, and considerate. I think we can disagree with all those things. I don't think he embodies any of those characteristics. Handsome, maybe. But hey, psychopaths can be handsome. And let me tell you, they quite often are. And finally, somebody said, shadow that blocked our lights. Your lights. Quoting the email. Am I the only one who read that as another death threat? Blocking the light with capital letters implying she'll be turned off? OP, please do not lower your guards and be careful. OP said, wow, you had a great point. I hadn't considered that until now. That's true, actually. I'm not sure why you would capitalize light. I don't see that as a death threat, but I don't actually think that really matters. I think the main point is this guy is obviously weird. The fact that he's mentioned, like, we will bump into each other again and you will be scared of me, that's very threatening. Just that, coupled with all the rest of the context that we have about this guy from the whole post, just leads me to the conclusion that you need to avoid this guy at all costs. So there we go. That is the end of that story. Now, in the comments down below, I want you guys to let me know. There's a new show on Netflix right now. It's called Adolescence. It's very good. It's based in the UK, so I don't know if it's that popular in the US. But it has some themes around sort of young boys and who their role models are. It actually mentions Andrew Tate in it. I haven't watched the whole thing, so I don't know how it ends. I've only watched 3 episodes. But it's interesting that there are sort of similarities with this post, even though this guy is much older, and Adolescence, the TV show, where it's clear the influence that these online influencers, these like male role models that are actually just quite disgusting and at times criminal people are having on the wider world in general. Like this email clearly, like I don't think 20 years ago this guy writes this email. I think it's what's going on right now online, and yeah, him probably watching a lot of like hate online from the likes of Andrew Tate, other people of course. Just that general sort of like, yeah, sexist, anti-women sort of like belittling the other gender stuff, which is just disgusting. I think that's having a big effect on people, and I think it's definitely had a big effect here on your XOP, but I think the thing to do is just avoid these people at all costs if you can, as I said, and at the very least, you know, you're doing great now. Those are your words. And you've been able to avoid him, I think, for all that time so far. So yeah, just keep it up and well done for getting out of there. My husband wants me to quit my job now we have children and he makes enough money. I love my work and the thought of being a housewife is torture to me. If I don't quit, he's leaving me. This was originally posted on January the 16th, 2022. For anonymity, I can't go into details, but my husband, who is 34, has developed something in IT that's well known and it made him rich. I am a 38-year-old woman. I'm a chef, and I make probably 1/100th of what he does. It doesn't matter for me, however, because I love my job. We have a great life together. We had our first child, a baby girl, 3 years ago, and our twin boys are 9 months old. I have a few months left of my maternity leave, and with the country closing up again because of the new Omicron variant, I started getting worried that my workplace won't take me back. Remember guys, this was posted in the height of COVID. I voiced my worries to my husband a couple of days ago, and he just shrugged and said it's not like we needed the money. I was confused, and I told him that I knew that it wasn't about the money, but he just shrugged. I was a bit annoyed, to be honest, because I thought he didn't think it would be a big deal if I became out of work. Yesterday, I was still thinking about it, so I decided to talk to him again. He was confused and told me that I should instead be happy that I could spend more time with my babies. And he asked me why I insisted on working when we have 3 small children and he made enough money for both of us. He didn't like me working 4 to 5 evenings a week, including 1 or 2 weekends a month. I told him that I love my job and I'm good at it. I've been doing it for almost 20 years now, and that just the thought of not doing anything for the rest of my life is suffocating. He was visibly upset by then, and he accused me of loving my job more than my babies and him. I could always cook at home for the family, and if I was worried I'd lose my independence, he could transfer the same amount I earn from my job to my private account monthly. Oh my goodness me, this guy just does not get it at all. I started crying, and he kissed and hugged me and told me that he loved me, but he's been thinking of this since our girl was born, and he didn't like me coming home late at night. So, I needed to choose between my job or being a family. I was startled. Did he mean it as an ultimatum? He did. He actually wants me to be a housewife or we go our separate ways. I went to my mum's place first thing this morning. She listened to me talking and crying, but when I finished, she wasn't indignant on my behalf, like I expected. She actually went silent for a while, and then she asked me to think carefully about my next move. If we got divorced, I need to think about my babies. I will never be able to give them the life their dad is giving them, and I might lose them because of it. Is it worth it to change their lives so drastically and have them live in 2 separate houses? All that for a job. I've worked my whole adult life, and I just could see this as an early retirement maybe. Many dreamed of this. Why couldn't I enjoy it? I was not expecting my mum to say these things. She's always been this strong, independent woman who raised us to be independent and taught me to never rely 100% on anyone other than myself. Hearing her say all of that made me question my feelings. Before I met her, I was totally sure I was right, being hurt and angry. But now I think maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe my husband's request wasn't that unreasonable. But if that's the case, why do I feel like my heart is swollen in my throat? Why does it feel like he made this ultimatum because he knew he has power and he's using it? Throw any suggestions or advice my way, and please be honest. Not rude, but honest, because I feel I'm wronged here, and I'm having a hard time thinking from my husband's perspective. Okay, now as I said earlier, there are 2 updates to come on this one, but first of all, I've got to give my thoughts as to what I've just read, and I want you guys to do it as well in the comments down below. See if you agree with what I'm about to say. And don't cheat, by the way. Don't just leave a comment at the end of the episode when we know the full story and we know the conclusion. Do it now. Now, my initial reaction to this is, OP, you are completely in the right here, and I can't quite believe that your husband doesn't understand what you're saying at all. Like, yeah, you've got loads of money. Well done. That is great. And fair play to your husband for inventing something that has made him a lot of money. You know, that's everyone's dream. So well done to him. However, if he doesn't understand or can't compute that working is not just about money for a lot of people, actually, it's about purpose, like drive, their livelihood, etc. They also probably may love it. Like, if you love being a chef, then who cares about the money? Like, you're at this stage now where money doesn't matter, which is very, very rare and amazing to be in that spot. But that doesn't just mean that you then no longer want to work if you love your job and you get up wanting to do it every day and it gives you purpose. I don't think that the majority of people want to retire. Now, this is a very privileged thing to say, but I don't think that the majority of people, if offered the chance and they love their job, would be like, actually, yeah, okay, I'm going to retire. Like, if they said, like, if they were given unlimited money or sufficient money, I don't think they actually would retire, which is interesting to say. I think a lot of people obviously would, but, you know, me right now, if you offered me the same amount of money that I'm getting for doing this, but I don't have to work again anymore, I don't have to make YouTube videos or episodes, then I obviously would not take that deal. I don't know what I would do with my time. Like, that's the thing. And I know this is coming from obviously a privileged position, and I'm sure that the majority of people wouldn't say this. However, I'd have a lack of purpose. I wouldn't know what to do. So for me, doing this stuff, YouTube and, you know, podcasts or whatever, it's not just about the money. I did this for years, like 10 years as a hobby before I made even a single penny. So if that doesn't prove that it's not about the money, I don't know what does. But yeah, I think it's probably the same for a lot of people. It's important to have a purpose, and for a lot of people, their work is a very important part of their life. Now, with that all being said, I think in this actual situation, it's very, very tough for you to know what to do, and I actually do get what your mum is saying. Now, I agree with you. I didn't expect your mum to say this, but I think she's coming at it from a more logical perspective, saying, well, look, if you do get divorced, you're in a way competing with your husband, I suppose. Well, actually, wouldn't you take half of his money? I'm not sure how it would work in terms of your country that you're in, etc. In the UK, you would get half of his estate, so you'd be completely fine. But yeah, I don't know. Is it worth divorcing just because you don't want to give up on your work? I don't know. It's tough. Like, think of the effect it would have on your kids as well. It's a tough job. It's tough to know what to do. I think you have to back yourself, though, and come back to your husband and say, what are you talking about? Like, maybe I could reduce my hours a little bit or something, but I love my job. That gives me so much purpose. Of course, I love my family. I love you, but like, I need to keep working. Anyway, with that being said, let's see what happened next. This is the first of actually 3 updates. I was wrong. There are 3 updates in this story, and it was posted just 2 weeks or so after the original. So I posted here about 2 weeks ago about my husband not wanting me to go back to work after maternity leave. I got a lot of really good advice. I just want to clarify some things about my post that many seem to have misinterpreted. I'm sorry my language wasn't very clear. I don't work 4 to 5 days plus weekends. I work 35 to 45 hours per week in total, and sometimes it's during the weekend. A stay-at-home mum isn't normal in my country. Daycare is free, and we don't have nannies. I'm saying this because I want you to understand why I was taken aback about this whole situation. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to stay-at-home mums. He can't get sole custody just because of his wealth, or because of my work hours. It doesn't work like this here, thank God. But I'm thankful for those who express worry about that, because I know this is the sad reality in other parts of the world. So then the update. I've had long talks with my husband about all of what happened, trying to understand his POV. I've told him that I can't see myself as a housewife ever, but that I am willing to start looking for jobs with better hours, or maybe I can finally start my own restaurant. That is sensible to me. Yeah, I didn't say that in my reaction, but yeah, if you could, well, actually, no, I did. If you can reduce your hours or maybe find something else that you still love that has fewer hours, maybe you can find a compromise. Anyway, let's continue. I could start searching for a location in office buildings and start a lunch spot so that then I don't need to work evenings and weekends. He didn't seem happy at all with that suggestion. He asked me why I'm so insistent on going back to work. He said these last months have been the happiest of his life, coming home from work every day to his family, and that he thought I was happy too. I am. I love being with my babies all day, but just because I'm enjoying my maternity leave doesn't mean I don't want to go back to work. In fact, I'm enjoying every minute now because I know it's not permanent. We had a row. He said he's always felt that I'm scared of him making much more money and that I'm scared of being dependent on him. So if I'm insisting on working because I don't want to be dependent, he could pay me 10 times what I earn to stay home. That is so patronizing, goodness me. I started crying and I told him I'm not going to be a housewife. I don't accept ultimatums, so he should do what he felt fit. He said he's tired of going around feeling that his wife is intimidated by his success. He's doing this for both of us. I have to admit that I am sometimes scared of him having more power than me. He said it's all in my head, but really, would he ever dare to ask me to quit my job if he didn't feel he had the power to do it? Could I ask him to quit his job with that same ease? There's no denying the power dynamics in our relationship, and I have all the right to be scared of it. So there was no progress really, and no matter how much I explain myself, he doesn't seem to understand me. And he probably feels the same way with me. It feels like we're on different levels. I've suggested counselling. He said he'll think about it. Now we're just civil to each other, but we don't talk much, and we haven't been intimate since I first brought up going back to work. I love him, and I miss him. I don't want it to end, but the ball is in his court now. My mum is very angry with me. We haven't spoken for a week. I don't know what to do with her either. Alright, let's just get straight into the second update. This was posted 4 days after the previous one on January the 31st, 2022. Let's see what happened. My husband and I talked yesterday for the first time in 2 weeks, and he was the one who initiated the conversation. I saw my chance to try to find out why he's behaving like this, and at the same time make sure that he knows that I'm not backing up. I told him that while I'm enjoying my maternity leave, the thought of it being for the rest of my life suffocated me. I suffer from severe claustrophobia. I don't know if it's got anything to do with this. I asked him why he's doing this. He knew my job was important to me, so why was he making this impossible request when he knew it would mean the end of us? I said, if you're having second thoughts about our marriage and want an out, please just tell me the truth. He became very upset and accused me of trying to gaslight him. He said his reasons are legit. There's nothing wrong with wanting his wife to be there for her family, and the children won't stop needing me just because they go to school. I started crying. Sorry, I'm a crybaby. And I told him if this is over, he should know it's all on him. He started yelling, no, it was because I'm too stubborn and too self-involved to actually take a second and think about his wishes. I wanted to leave because I couldn't be with him anymore, but he said that it would be more convenient if he did. He's moved to our city apartment. I feel lost and hurt. I love him so much, but I don't think continuing this relationship is healthy for either of us. My heart is breaking for my children. I don't know what to do. For now, I'll just sit tight and wait for him to send me the divorce papers. Thank you again for the help and advice. It helped a lot. P.S. Mum was here yesterday. We talked a lot and she's finally getting on my side. I knew that when it came to it, she'd be on my side, and I'm so grateful. Okay, and then just 10 days later, we got this final update titled, We Are Separating. Thank you everyone for the support. My husband and I are separating. this is what he wants. As I suspected, this was more than just me going back to work. He's been feeling resentment towards a lot of things about me. Many of them I can't change, and the rest I don't want to change. It's not his or my fault. We're just not compatible with each other anymore. I still have 14 months with my babies. Afterwards, all children are big enough for shared custody. I'm staying in the big house for now, but after divorce, I'm going to move back to the city. I've been talking to my boss about my job. She'll help me find a schedule around having the children, so maybe I'll work lunch hours the weeks I have them. My ambition is still to open my own thing, but maybe that's a little bit further in the future now. I still love him. I thought we were inseparable, but when he started resenting the very same things he loved about me, I knew this was hopeless. It sucks big time, and it hurts like hell, but here we are. Okay, there we go. Yeah, tough one. Not entirely sure what to say. It's a shame that this situation has happened, obviously, but I think one thing that maybe is a slight positive, I don't know, it makes me feel a little bit better about the whole situation, is that it wasn't just the fact that he didn't want you to go back to work and that was it. That was the reason for the divorce. Like, that would have been crazy. I feel like if that was the case, it would make me concerned about successful men in general if they're acting like this. I know some people do that, but from out of nowhere, actually I don't want you to work anymore, be a stay-at-home housewife for the rest of your life. It seemed a lot. The fact that he was clearly, or had clearly just fallen out of love with you is, I suppose it's a little bit easier for me to stomach. Not that this story is about me at all, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, from the moment he said, no, I don't really care about your job. I mean, that's what he was implying, right? I don't care about your job. I don't care about your purpose. I just want you to make me and the children happy, and that's it, not care about yourself. And you were like, well, obviously that's not going to happen. This is kind of the only conclusion I could see. Like, it has to be this way. I don't think you've made the wrong decision at all, by the way. I'm sure you've made the right decision. And fair play to you for not, succumbing to what he wanted, which I think would have been the easier thing to do. Being like, okay, I don't want this at all, but, I don't want to get divorced. I still love him. I want to stay with my family. So fair play to you. I mean, it's interesting what he said, right? I want my kids to have a happy family. And if you won't give that to them, then I'm divorcing you. Okay, well, that's not how you have a happy family normally. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of people stay together that don't want to stay together, and that can have effects on their family. But ultimately, I would suggest that the majority of happy families don't have divorced parents. Maybe I'm wrong saying that, but I think that if you still loved each other, which clearly I don't think he actually did love you, let's be realistic anymore, which is tough, then you would have stayed together. But yeah, I don't think this is as much about the kids. He just seems like a very controlling person. Like, when OP said, if this is over, you should know it's all on him. And he said, no, actually, it's because you're too stubborn and too self-involved to take a second and think about his wishes. That is crazy. Like, I agree. He's got this position of power that he knows he has. And he's like, you know what? No, I want everything my way. And ultimately, good on you, OP, for not giving that to him. My girlfriend outed me to my family. Now, before we get into this, first of all, here is a quick note from the author who compiled the original posts and the updates together. They say, since this is going to probably result in some age gap discussion, per OP's response to comments, he was first introduced to this woman when he was 18 years old. He started a relationship with her when he was 21 or 22, depending on where birthdays fall. Okay, let's get into the original post. This came on March the 12th, 2025. I am a 24-year-old man and she is a 31-year-old woman. I'm bisexual, but it's not something I talk about, especially not with my family. Admittedly, I've never had a public boyfriend or what could be described as a relationship with a man. As far as my family knows, I'm straight. My girlfriend and I have been together for 2 years and I only recently introduced her to my family. On the last day of the visit to my parents, we were all outside around the fire. Some people, including my girlfriend, were drinking wine. That is when she made a comment about me being bisexual. Everyone heard. I froze up in that moment, and I gave her a look. She laughed it off, played with my hair, and kept talking. Luckily, it came across as a joke to most of my family, but not my dad. His demeanor that night changed, and the morning before I left, he was being distant. I just know he's thinking about what she said. It's really messing with my head. To give you a bit of an idea about him, he's very rigid, conservative. I started modelling some years ago and he's had a hard time with that. When I went to Europe for work and he saw some of the editorials my mum showed him, he hated the looks, and I became very selective of what I share. I'm back in my city now and I live with my girlfriend. I'm so angry at her, but she claims it was a slip up from being drunk. Personally, no amount of alcohol would have me outing someone in front of their family. She only had 1 glass of wine. Instead of apologising, she's focusing on how I should just distance myself from my family if they won't accept me. So, am I the jerk here for hanging on to this? My girlfriend thinks I am being immature and holding on to a grudge. Just a quick edit to include. My girlfriend knows that I'm bi. I do disclose that to my partners, I just don't disclose publicly. I think it's unnecessary and not anyone's business who I'm attracted to, except the people I'm involved with. My girlfriend also knew that I wasn't out to family, and even though she only met them recently, she knows how they are. Okay, let's get into the comments here, and I picked out one in particular. Somebody said, "You're not the jerk, and she did that on purpose. I think your dad is mad that he heard that from someone other than you. You should take her advice and also distance yourself from her." Question, does she have an issue with you being bi? Has she given you any sense that she does? Now, I agree with half of this comment. First of all, I do believe that she did that on purpose. If you've had 1 glass of wine, I'm sorry, but you're not drunk. I mean, even if you're a little bit tipsy after a glass of wine, that's no excuse to out your partner to their family, something that you know that their family doesn't know and they don't want their family to know either. I'm sorry, a glass of wine, you can't just say, "Oh, I didn't mean to, I was drunk." That's not going to run with me. However, I also don't think that means that she may have an issue with you being bi at all. She may have just said it. And who knows why? We don't really know quite yet, but we're going to get into more of this. As I said, there are a couple of updates to this one. And I also wouldn't know at this moment in time if your dad is mad that he heard it from someone other than you, or if he's mad that you may be bisexual. You know, that's a big difference. I mean, it's a shame that your dad is mad anyway, but yes, there's more to come here. OP actually replied to this comment saying she doesn't have an issue with me being bi. She's actually been sort of proud about it when amongst our friends. In hindsight, I think that's a red flag that I didn't notice. Now that is interesting. Being proud of someone's sexuality. Very, very strange. It's almost like she is, I don't know, showing off that you're bi. I mean, I don't think someone else's sexuality is something to be proud of. I mean, the way they go about living their life and, yeah, being honest with their sexuality and whatever, that's great. But, like, their actual sexuality itself, I'm not sure. By the way, I'm not saying, like, people shouldn't be proud to be straight or gay or whatever they are. That's completely fine. It's just like, if my partner was bisexual, would I be like, "Oh, I'm so proud that you're bisexual"? No, I'd just be like, "Well, you're bisexual, that's your sexuality, that's it." Anyway, let's get into the first update here. This came 11 days later. I wanted to thank everyone for reading and responding to my situation. I tried to have a healthy conversation with my girlfriend to communicate how I felt, but it wasn't getting anywhere. Why is it so difficult to acknowledge a mistake and apologize? She said she's stressed out about work, and instead of being a support to her, I'm adding on to her stress by being hung up on this issue. Great, so she's gaslighting you and making you feel as if this is your fault. Okay. It's not that I'm hung up on it. She refused to, at any point, let me express anything. It stretched out our conflict, which could have been resolved in one meaningful discussion. Even during this conversation, she walked away from me. So I decided to take a shower. When I got out, I was using the hairdryer. I couldn't hear that well over the thing, and sometimes you think you heard something, but it's nothing. But after a few seconds, I turned it off to listen. It was definitely like a scream or a yell. Immediately, I went to the kitchen. She had dropped some glasses and cut her foot. She was sitting on the floor. I helped her. She told me she's just overwhelmed and has too many things to think about lately. After a few minutes, the bleeding had pretty much stopped, but she insisted on having me take her to the ER. I told her she'll be waiting for hours for nothing. She doesn't need stitches. This is when she just exploded. We were still on the floor. She pulled her hands out of mine and slapped me. It was so fast. My face was close to hers when it happened. I didn't see it coming. She just started yelling at me to get away from her and saying, "You really don't care. You took so long to come because you've been holding a grudge against me," referring to the incident at my parents' and some other stuff. I comforted her until she calmed down. She's never done anything like this before. And I guess when she hit me, she ended up scratching my face with her nail and it was bleeding a little. I hadn't noticed, but she did, and she apologized and wanted to take me into the bathroom to clean the blood and put ointment on it. I told her it's fine, but she got really fixated on taking care of me and started getting upset again because I said it was fine, so I gave in. The next day, she posted on her Instagram story a little picture of her foot in a bandage. I didn't think anything of this post, but this weekend I learned that she'd cancelled some plans with friends, claiming we had an incident. But I think she made it seem like I did something wrong. The reason I think this is because one of her friends that I'm working on a project with said something like, resorting to violence is a red flag. I asked him to explain what the frick he means. He refused to clarify. I talked to my girlfriend about it, but she's pleasant with me. Fusses over my scratch, which is barely even there anymore, and she says she doesn't know what the friend was talking about. She even apologized for how she handled what she said in front of my family. Now I feel like a jerk. I know this felt long-winded, but I didn't know how else to explain why I feel so emotionally exhausted. I'm starting to realize that maybe I was too focused on my own fear of what my family overheard that night that I stopped paying attention to everything else. About my dad. Since my last update, I also reached out to him and asked him if anything that was said the night before I left made him feel a certain way, and if he wanted to talk about it with me. He said he was confused by what she said. I'm bisexual? What's that supposed to mean? I'm glad we had a conversation. I think it was a first of many that we're going to have in the future, and although it didn't feel as cathartic or even much of a relief like I thought it would, we ended on a note that felt like at least we could have more talks. Personally, I just hate labels and having to explain sexuality to anyone, but I understand that in the long run it's probably a good thing to be open with family. I'm trying. Now, although that update, guys, seems like it ended on a relatively positive note, maybe OP's relationship is coming back together slowly, but there seems to be more of an understanding there. That's a good update, I suppose, with your dad OP as well. The people of Reddit were not so positive. Somebody said, and this was a very upvoted comment, for F's sake, she outed you to your family and then she assaulted you. Move on. OP replied, it's not assault because it wasn't intentional. She was just overwhelmed in the moment and apologized right after. She's never hit me before. She eventually apologized for outing me too, so I think this is all on me. I was too focused on my POV that I missed what was going on with her. Later on, OP actually added an edit to this comment, continuing, I've been reading comments all day. It's been helpful in realizing how abnormal my understanding of everything is. The narrative I was holding onto is slowly starting to fall apart. But when I step away from my phone and have an interaction with her, it's really hard to maintain the clarity. I don't know how to explain. But there's a few comments I saved that I'm going to keep reading over and over to try to hold on to reality. I don't know what to do next, but I'm going to ask for help. I feel way in over my head right now. Thanks for helping me. Even if I don't reply, I probably read your comment and I'm grateful for it. So there we go. A few hours later, OP has read a comment like that and another comment that we'll get into in just a second where, yeah, the people of Reddit were, as I said, less positive and more saying to OP, you know, you're feeling a certain way, but actually you're not seeing the truth here. You need to get out. So somebody said, nobody on Reddit is going to make you leave her, but just picture what happens when you really anger her. I have a friend who is 6'4", rugby build. His partner was 5'3", small built, and not remotely scary. Until she cut him off from all friends and family, and eventually started slipping meds in his drinks. He's lucky he escaped alive. You think it can't be you until it is you. OP replied saying, we have that almost same size difference, and I think that also makes it hard for me to see her in the way I should be seeing her, because I always feel like it's me who should be more careful. I don't know, like in that moment I started to wonder if I intimidated her or got too close to her when she was overwhelmed and needed space, things like that. I'm just sharing how I saw it, not saying that I'm right. I'm not being defensive, I'm just giving context. So I appreciate what you shared because it's making me rethink. All the comments are kind of hitting me really hard right now. I might stop replying. It doesn't mean I'm not listening or that I disagree. I'm trying to absorb it. I came on here because something doesn't feel right, but I couldn't figure out why. So thank you. There we go. I mean, that is the reason, I suppose, for posting this in the first place. OP wasn't exactly sure whether to trust his gut on this or his own internal monologue. Or was he actually seeing this in the wrong way? Was there more to this? Was he being too lenient on his girlfriend? And I think the answer is probably yes. This commenter replied once more saying, "Kid, you're Delulu. What are you waiting for her to do? What would be enough to convince you that this isn't normal?" OP said, "I don't know. It feels confusing. I don't know why the normal response for me is to make excuses for her. I need to stop doing that." And then finally, 2 days later, just a week ago at the time of recording, on March 25th, we got the final update. Your comments have been overwhelming, but I'm taking them to heart. I appreciate the stories you shared with me. They are what helped the most. I told someone this in a DM, but if it wasn't for the personal experiences that were shared with me, I think I would have stayed. It was really hard not to argue against the advice that I was initially receiving. I can't explain why exactly I felt this strong compulsion to go on the defensive, but I'm starting to realize my perception is actually very distorted. It's something I'm still struggling with a lot, and it feels like I need constant reminders or reality checks to hold on to the understanding I've gained. Because there is a lot of concern being expressed, I just wanted to come on and share that I am okay. Don't worry about me. I'm trying to come up with an exit strategy, but it's complicated. I mostly just wanted to reassure you and thank you. Goodness me. That is it for the update. Somebody commented, this actually reads like a hostage note. Still, I'll say run for the hills, OP, and document everything she does to you. OP replied, I promise it's not. I'm just so freaking depleted. And there we go. Okay, guys, a lot to unpack there. Goodness me. It's crazy. The one thing I want to start off with is the fact that, you know, there definitely is abuse going on here, right? Physical abuse for sure. Emotional abuse as well, like gaslighting. So that is a fact. And, you know, with that information, I think OP can choose what he does or doesn't do. But I think understanding the fact that this is abuse is the first step. Because I think before reading the comments and posting on Reddit, I don't think OP saw it as this. I mean, he was saying himself, like, she didn't mean to do it. It was a mistake, blah, blah, blah. She's apologized, etc. In reality, no, like looking at it from the outside in, and that is easier, obviously, compared to being within it yourself and having all your feelings. Yeah, there is abuse going on there. I think we can all agree on that. The second point I want to make, yeah, I mean, it's more of a discussion, I suppose, but as a bigger individual, right, this guy is what? He said he was 6'4", rugby build, something like that. A big boy, okay? And his girlfriend is what, 5'3", small. That in itself is really interesting because in reality, in terms of like a physical confrontation where nothing else is involved, you are you're pretty much never ever going to be in any danger, right? You're 6'4", she's 5'3". You know, it's like a complete mismatch. But because of that, I think it actually means that sometimes, you know, the women in this can get away with doing more, and the bigger guy thinks, well, yeah, she slapped me a few times, she's been emotionally abusive, but I'm 6'4", she's 5'3", like, come on, what can she really do? But as the comments are saying here, like, it's just a sort of, it's a matter of time perhaps before something more serious happens. And yeah, it might start with a little slap and just a few bits of gaslighting, but it could end up with much more serious outcomes. I mean, yeah, medication, you know, a weapon could be involved, whatever. Just because you're not at risk right now doesn't mean that you might not be in the future. It is strange though. Like, I mean, I'm quite a big guy as well, and I wouldn't ever feel threatened by someone that's 5'3", but that actually isn't the case. Like, someone that's 5'3" could do a lot of damage to me, just probably not as much physically. But it doesn't have to be just, you know, a pure physical fight. I mean, as the comments are saying, yeah, OP could be in serious danger. I mean, the fact of the matter is that now, because of Reddit, I think he's got to the right conclusion that he's got to get out. And knowing that is the first step. But without Reddit, I mean, he's on the path to, you know, potentially a lifetime of abuse, which no one really wants in a relationship. I'm going to be honest. People in the comments on the r/best of post are saying that maybe the girlfriend actually cut her foot on purpose to test him and make herself a bigger/more wounded victim than him to get him to baby her after what she did. And I actually am slightly agreeing with that, or at least she used that, right, because of the Instagram post. Like, it's very, very strange to post about an injury on your Instagram that is like a cut of your foot. That's odd, isn't it? Let's be honest. So it's some sort of power play there. And she knows that other people are going to see it. She's called it an incident, whatever. Like, there's a lot of emotional manipulation and yeah, obviously some physical stuff going on here that OP just needs to get out of. But I think the overall question that I've got for you is, if you've got a big boy in a relationship, it doesn't have to be a big boy, it could be the other way around, it could be a big girl and a smaller guy, but like that difference in physical size, it definitely does have an effect on what you would consider abuse. Like, if a 5'2" girl slapped me and I'm like 6'1", how many pounds am I? Quite a lot these days, geez, like 180 maybe a bit more, then I'm just not, I don't really care. But is that wrong? Maybe that's wrong, because if like a guy my height, my weight slapped me, it would obviously hurt a bit more, I imagine, but then I'd be like much more sort of, I'd have the feelings of being in danger, etc. So just because I am the size I am and someone else is the size they are, it doesn't mean that it's not abuse and that I'm not in danger. I think that's the point. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. A very interesting one. And as always, this one is up for debate. Should someone be allowed to do things to somebody else because they're significantly smaller? I think the answer has to be no. And I think OP has now realized that. I am a 22-year-old woman, and I've been with my boyfriend, who is 24, for 3 years. Recently, he found out that his ex is engaged, and he literally won't stop crying. This was originally posted on March the 23rd, 2014, an absolute classic over 10 years ago. So, I met my boyfriend 3 years ago through some mutual friends. He was pretty guarded, and I was the one that pursued him. We were long distance. I was living in Oregon, he was living in Washington, until I moved in with him last year. My boyfriend has only had one other relationship and a hookup before me. He stopped talking to the hookup a long time ago because she was crazy, but he kept in touch with his ex until she cut contact with him around 2 years ago. They dated when he was 15, and it lasted for around 2 years, and then she dumped him because, quote, he had no self-respect. Apparently, she's the reason why my boyfriend is so guarded now. I'll admit that I was really jealous of her and was glad when she cut contact with him, because she's beautiful, and my boyfriend talked about her as if she had all of life's answers. This past January, I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard my boyfriend crying quietly. I could tell that he was looking at his phone, and I wasn't sure whether or not to say anything, since I wasn't sure if he just wanted a private moment or not. After a while, he got up to go to the bathroom, so I took a peek at his phone. He was on Facebook, looking at his ex's profile. She'd gotten engaged, and there were pictures of the ring and everything. It's been 2 months now, and my boyfriend has been breaking down out of nowhere. I keep asking him to talk to me about it, but he won't. I told him to talk to a therapist, and he got really insulted and said that he doesn't believe in therapy. I'm unsure of what to do, since this happens at least twice a week. I love him, but he's always seemed a bit distant to me, and obviously this woman is the reason why. Should I contact her and ask her if she has any insight? I'm starting to think that she must have said something to upset him like this, because he didn't seem that bothered when his ex was dating other people. Okay, so there we go for the original post. A lot going on there. I'm not quite sure how to react to that, to be honest. Yeah, your boyfriend is a little odd. There's clearly a lot of past trauma or just thoughts there. He's not over her, that's for sure. Anyway, let's jump into the comments. Somebody said this. Right, okay, no, don't contact her. Her job is finished. If her ex still has problems with their relationship, that's his issue. Now you, Missy, do not play Miss Fix-It here. You can't fix the fact that your boyfriend is actually still in love with another woman. You can be the most perfect woman on earth, but while he still has her as his dream woman, you don't have anything. I mean, that is probably what's going on here, let's be honest. Honestly, and as hard as this may be, I'd talk to him about it again. And then, if there is no resolution, I'd consider moving on. You deserve someone who thinks you are the best woman on earth, not some distant ex from his high school years. Good luck, OP, and big hugs. This sucks balls. OP replied to this saying, "Thank you for your reply. I was insecure about my boyfriend's relationship with his ex from the start. They didn't talk that often, but they'd catch up once every few months through Skype or something. She lives on the East Coast, And when Hurricane Sandy hit her, he called her, texted her, and messaged her on Skype, despite her having cut off contact with him prior to that. I didn't even know that he still had her phone number. Is this relationship hopeless? I knew that he still had a bit of a thing for her, but I didn't know the extent of it until now. If he can't move on after all this time, I don't really understand why he got into a relationship with me. Yep, very, very valid point. Then that same person replied, saying, sometimes we think we are more emotionally available than we actually are. And I want you to know, this is not your fault. I find this happens with people who run away from their feelings and don't process grief. It all comes back and bites them in the bum. Big time. He probably didn't know it at the time when he got with you that he was like this, and now it's just spiraled out of his control. It's gonna be rough, and I'm sorry. You sound like an exceptionally loving and patient girlfriend, actually. To be honest, he sounds like a bit of a jerk putting his ex-girlfriend before you emotionally. And no, I think in the long term, you'll find it to be an uphill battle with him. I think a massive turnaround is highly unlikely if he's this bad 3 years into your relationship. 3 years is a lot to give up on, I know, but think about it. Wouldn't you rather be with someone who thinks you are the most amazing woman in the world? And that is a great point. It's not like this is just a short-term thing. This has been a thing for your boyfriend, OP, for a very, very long time now. Arguably, 7 years, right? And it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. So maybe you got to get out. OP replied to this saying, look, I love him. From the moment I saw him, I knew that I wanted to be with him. He's incredibly smart and charming, but you're right. I've always felt insignificant in comparison to his ex, and I don't think that I realized quite how much. If I think about it though, there were clues that I didn't pick up on. When we first started dating, I told him at some point that he didn't seem to want to open up to me. And he told me that it was because his ex had taught him not to become too vulnerable. I thought this would pass as we got more serious about each other, and he did open up a bit more, but whenever he caught up with his ex, he'd be distant with me again for a while. I don't know why his ex cut off contact with him, but after she did, he did seem more invested in our relationship, and so I had hope for us. He was the one that asked if I wanted to move in with him. But now this happened, and he barely wants to talk to me. Okay, interesting stuff. Let's get into the first update here. This was posted 2 days after the original post. It's over, I think. I called my dad and asked him to help me move back home. These last 2 days have been really emotional. My boyfriend was gone all day yesterday. He was gone when I woke up. That's fine, I assume he went to work early. But then he still wasn't home when I went to bed. I texted him once when I woke up to say good morning, and twice at night. One asking if he was coming home for dinner, and another asking if he was alright. I also tried calling his cell, but he didn't pick up. I thought that I deserved some answers, so I decided to snoop. Something that I've done once before when I was feeling insecure about his relationship with his ex. Well, on his laptop, hidden in a bunch of subfolders, was an MS document with his ex's name. I read it, and I'm assuming that he just saved the last conversation that he had with her right before she cut contact with him. It started out normally, but then he asked her how her relationship with her now fiance, boyfriend, was going. She said that it was good, and that she was happy. And then it got weird because he said something like, "Really? Are you sure?" She said yeah, and said that was a weird question. And he said, "I don't know, I don't believe that you're that happy." I don't remember everything exactly because my head was spinning, but he basically told her that her fiance, then boyfriend, will never treat her as well as he did, and that they've known each other X number of years and managed to stay friends after their breakup, that they've helped each other grow as people, and that she should really give him another chance. He said that he's waited for her all these years and that he loves her and always believed they'd wind up together. This was all while he was with me. She called him a jerk and told him that he had a lot of balls to say all of that to her when she told him a long time ago that they're only ever going to be friends, and that he's an even bigger jerk for doing this while they were both in relationships. She told him to go to hell and to break up with me for my sake because I deserve better. But that is not even the worst part. My boyfriend woke me up this morning by calling my cell and told me to come to the kitchen. He said that he made breakfast. So I go to the kitchen, getting ready for a fight. He and I never fight, but I'm so goddamn hurt. And he made what honestly looked like an amazing breakfast with a ring box in the middle of the table. He told me to open it. I did. He says something like, "These last 3 years with me have been an adventure, and he hopes to keep making new adventures with me." I guess around this time, I snap out of whatever haze I've been in, and I exploded. I demanded to know where he was all day yesterday, why he wouldn't contact me, why he's been crying over his ex for the last 3 months, everything. He got mad at me for being mad. He told me that I should be happy because he was proposing, and wasn't that what I wanted? I asked him why when it's so obvious he'd rather be with his ex. He told me that she's obviously moved on, so it's time for him to move on too. I cannot believe what I am reading. Just phenomenal stuff. I've never been so angry in my life. I've been so incredibly patient with this man, and I've done my best to be understanding of his situation. I've literally given him all that I had, but I'm not going to get married to him just to be his consolation prize. It's so ironic, because had he proposed 4+ months earlier, I would have been ecstatic. Now, it just broke our relationship. So yeah, I called my dad, crying, and he's on his way to help me move back in with him and my mum. That's it. I'm a wreck. But I think it's just because everything wrong and twisted in this relationship is hitting me, and it took so long for me to understand. And my ex is just sitting on the couch with his laptop. Thank you guys for helping me see how unfair this whole relationship was. I read every one of your comments, even if I didn't get a chance to respond to them all. Okay, so there we go. That is it for the first update. Crazy scenes. That was the unbelievable twist that I was talking about in the introduction. And stuff like that, moments like that in stories, is the reason why I record the introduction after I've read the story, so I can let you guys know that something crazy is going to happen. I always read these stories live without knowing what's going to happen myself, so you get my honest reaction, but the intro I do afterwards for that exact reason. Now, I noticed this heavily downvoted and then deleted comment that said, "He made a mistake. People have made bigger mistakes before and overcome it. He was putting you number one by proposing to you. You said you had 3 years of a happy relationship together before this. Although he had a temporary lapse in judgment, he still wants you. You're looking for an incredibly perfect fairy tale where everything plays out exactly like you wanted it. After you break up, you'll start to realize all the things he did to say and show he loved you, things that should trump this revelation. Sounds like things are your way or the highway. Hopefully, if another man loves you, he'll be willing to put up with that." Wow, what a comment. That's got to be one of the worst comments I've ever read on Reddit, and it just shows that although in general I do respect and value the people of Reddit and their opinions, sometimes I should probably pull back on that a little bit, reading stuff like that. Opie actually replied to this saying, "I did think my relationship was happy, yeah, but I didn't know that my ex was declaring his love for his ex-girlfriend and trying to win her back while he was still with me. Nor did I know that once she blocked him from Facebook, he was logging into my account to keep tabs on her." Oh my goodness. If you honestly believe that someone that's been crying for 3 months over an ex's engagement really wanted to be with me, you're in the minority. And judging by the fact that he had bought the ring the day before he proposed, he really hadn't been planning on it at all. I'm astounded by your comment, honestly. Okay then, now that we've got that comment out of the way, let's get into the second update of this one, posted 3 weeks after the last update on April the 15th, 2014. First, I want to thank everyone that commented on my last post. I really took your comments to heart, and all of the support means the world to me. I took a break from Reddit, but I logged in today to find a few PMs asking for another update, so here goes. My ex went more or less crazy after I moved back home. I blocked him from essentially everything, changed all of my passwords, and deactivated my Facebook, so he had no way of reaching me aside from literally driving to my parents' house to see me. Apparently, he started sending messages to my friends, some of them are mutuals, asking to use their Skype accounts to talk to me. He told them that I stole some things from him when I moved out, and he wanted them back. I got a few phone calls from my friends asking me about this. They told me that they knew I didn't steal anything from him because that's not like me at all, but they wanted to know why he was so desperate to contact me. I wasn't ready to tell the whole story. Honestly, I didn't think that anyone would believe me, so I told them that I didn't know what was going on, but I asked them to not give them their Skype accounts by any means. A few days after that, the phone calls started, all from a few different numbers that I didn't recognize. I didn't pick any of them up, but one day I'd have about 20 missed calls from one number, then another 20 plus from a different number. I had to set my phone to only allow calls from specific numbers, otherwise it would just go straight to voicemail. Even if he couldn't reach me, he succeeded in making me feel pretty isolated. After the 5th day of the phone calls, I broke down and I told my mum everything that happened. She didn't say much, she mostly let me talk. Afterwards, she told me that I made the right decision, but that there's absolutely no reason why I should be going through this alone. She said that she didn't want to push me to tell her what happened until I was ready, but that the best thing that I could be doing right now is spending time with people that love and support me. So, after going with me to get my phone number changed, she encouraged me to start calling my friends and telling them what happened, and to just hang out with them more in general. I had it stuck in my head that everyone would side with my ex and tell me that I made a terrible mistake, that his intentions were good, and I blew things out of proportion by insinuating that he only proposed because his ex-girlfriend got engaged. But I was actually overwhelmed by my friends' responses. Apparently, my ex had been telling everyone that we broke up because I had major jealousy issues over his ex. But once they heard my side of the story, I was actually shocked by how many of them said that it made sense. They've all told me that I've done the right thing and that they'd back me up no matter what. I just felt this huge sense of relief, and I've been making an effort to go out more. I'll be honest though, there are times where I wonder if I was wrong. Sometimes I think that maybe my ex had been grieving over his old relationship and proposing to me was his way of starting over. Sometimes I think that I turned down the only marriage proposal that I'll ever get, and sometimes I think that maybe I should have accepted because I loved him. And you don't often find people that you truly love. But then on the days that I'm feeling wiser, I remind myself of how bizarre our last few weeks together were, how I always knew deep down that I was second best for him, and how he's been behaving since we broke up. I've never seen him so unstable. He was always so calm and logical, so this is completely new to me. I know deep down that I did the right thing, but sometimes what you know in your head and feel in your heart are so completely different. So that's basically it. I'm just going through the motions and I'm going to make an appointment with a therapist. I wish that I had something more profound to update you guys with, some added wisdom, but I don't. My best advice for anyone going through something similar is what my mum told me. Surround yourself with people that love and support you. Okay, and then 2 months after that, on June the 1st, 2014, we got the final update. Hello Reddit. I just wanted to update you guys on some things that have happened. I also wanted to apologize for not responding to any of the comments in my last post. I wasn't in a great place at the time and I wasn't feeling up to it. But I did read each of your responses and I truly appreciate those who took the time to comment. First, my ex mailed me the engagement ring that he bought shortly after my last update. I didn't know what to do with it. I wasn't sure if the ring was what he had been claiming that I stole. I also felt weird about mailing it back, because what if he claimed that he never got it? So my dad volunteered to personally deliver the ring back to him. I don't know if anything was said when my dad brought it back, and I never asked. Second, I heard from some friends that 2 weeks ago, my ex bought a ticket and flew to New York to try and talk to his ex. Somehow he found out the name of the company that she worked for, looked up its location, and waited in front of the building all day. I've got no idea what happened, but apparently there aren't any signs of her coming back, so I'm assuming that it didn't go very well. I can't believe that he did that. And I can't believe that I dated someone that was that crazy for 3 years. But I suppose it helps every time I hear about something like this, because it reinforces the fact that I did the right thing. I met with 2 therapists. I wasn't a huge fan of the first one. Every time that I said something, he'd ask, "And how do you feel about that?" No feedback or suggestions whatsoever. At the end, he suggested that I was depressed and might want to consider a few different medications. I don't intend on seeing that guy again. I met the second one last week though, and I liked her a lot. She told me that she doesn't think that I need to see her regularly, but to feel free to make appointments whenever I'm feeling especially down or stressed. So I think I'll do that. A few people asked why I wanted to see a therapist in my last post, because I seemed to be doing the right things. Well, the problem was that even though I knew I was doing the right thing, I didn't necessarily feel that it was right. I still doubted myself and I felt like a different person than I used to be. Prior to this mess, I was always very optimistic and happy in general. I always tried to make the best of things. But at the time of my last post, I felt down, and even though I was making an effort to see friends, I wasn't really enjoying it. Anyway, this brings me to where I am now. I started a paid internship with the chance of getting hired full-time almost a month ago, and I love it. I love the people, the work itself, and the fact that I'm getting back into a routine. And I'm a little embarrassed to say that I'm attracted to the guy that hired me, who's about my age. There's nothing going on, and I'm definitely not ready or willing to be in a relationship. It's simply the fact that he is the nicest, best-mannered person I've ever met. He's always positive, polite, and smiling, so it's impossible not to be in a good mood around him. So it's not that I think my next relationship should be with him or that I have feelings for him. It's just that I've realized that the type of person that I should be looking for is someone that makes me feel good just by being around them. I don't give much thought to my ex anymore. It's amazing how much life changes over the course of a few months, but I think that everything is turning out for the best. Wow, there we go. That is the end of that story. What a creep. I don't even know who I feel worse for necessarily. OP or the ex of OP's ex now, if that makes sense. The girl that your ex OP was going after, had been with, and yeah, still is arguably stalking. I mean, like, yeah, just a creep, an absolute creep. Crazy. And again, like, I know I do often say this at the end of stories like this, but it is good that you know now, at least. That is the truth. And the fact that you're like now, a few months after, you seem all right, and you've said at the end there you don't even think about your ex that much. I mean, that is a good sign. It is so crazy though, like what you've said at the end there, as in how much your life has changed in just a few months. Imagine that you never found out about this at all. That your ex wasn't crying in bed that time. Like, you weren't there. And you just never really clocked how obsessed he still was over his ex. And then he proposes to you anyway. You don't know about, obviously, all his past trauma. You accept. You say yes. You marry him. You have kids. The guy's never over his ex the entire time. I mean, like, if you think about it like that, then you have to see this as a positive. You know, I don't like saying that, because I'm like, well, you have loved someone for that long, and a breakup is never nice. But I feel okay saying it this time more than most, because of what you said at the end about how you're already like, okay, there are other people I like. I know I've loved this person, but he wasn't the right person for me, and I'm getting over it. But yeah, the main thing to think about is, what a weird guy. I'm just thinking about the timing here. So your ex-boyfriend and his ex broke up at age 17. And it's 7 years later. 7 years later, and this guy is still disaffected. I mean, to be honest, maybe I feel sorry for him as well. 7 years later. You were with each other for 2 years. This guy definitely needs some serious therapy, or he is going to be pretty effed for a long time. People are actually saying in the comments down below, that one comment bashing her was definitely the boyfriend. Imagine he found the post and knew it was her. I don't know. I mean, just quickly rereading that, I mean, it could be. He made a mistake. People have made bigger mistakes before and overcome it. He was putting you number one by proposing to you. Oh, I don't know. I mean, it'd be a bit weird of him to do that, but clearly he's a weird guy, and yeah, what a strange man. And OP, I'm sorry that you didn't find out sooner, I suppose. I, a 24-year-old woman, found hundreds of pictures of my brother, who is a 20-year-old man, of course, on my boyfriend's laptop. My boyfriend is 24. Can anyone please explain to me what is going on? I mean, you talk about titles. It's just brilliant. Now, this was originally posted on August the 30th, 2018. And of course, there is an update to come, as always with these stories. So let's get into it. I've been with my boyfriend for a year. Our relationship is/was great, and we honestly never had any serious problems. We both have full-time jobs and live together. He's good friends with my youngest brother as well, mainly because of their shared interest in fitness, workouts, etc. They hang out a good amount and go to the gym together. In hindsight, the fact that they're good friends makes this all the more creepy. Yesterday I was home alone and my boyfriend was at work. I needed to print something out, but my laptop wasn't working at all. And my boyfriend has several laptops, and there's one in particular he never uses. At least, I've never seen him use it. I thought it was some dusty old thing. I grabbed it, and it was not shut down properly. It took me straight to the photo albums, and there were hundreds of pictures of my brother saved. Oh no. Most were pulled from his social media accounts, but there were also pics of him from his rugby team's website. What the flip? This isn't even the worst. There was an album that only consisted of creep shots and videos. Pictures of him sleeping, even videos of him getting changed. You could clearly see in the videos that he wasn't aware he was being recorded. What the frickin' F? The last pic he uploaded was literally last week. This is so creepy. I don't even know what to say. There were also pictures of someone's gym clothes. I'm assuming they're also my brother's. Yeah, they probably are. I'm confused, disgusted and shocked. What the heck is going on? When he came back from work, I just went straight to sleep. I couldn't even face him. I honestly can't think of a good reason he would do this. I mean, straight guys don't usually do this, right? Well, let me tell you, as someone that is a straight guy, no, I don't normally do this. I don't know if I should even confront him about it. Should I ask what this whole thing is about? There we go. That is it for the original post. Too long didn't read. Boyfriend has tons of pictures and videos of my brother saved on his old laptop. It's extremely creepy, and I don't even know how to confront him about it. Well, let me just say this. That's one of the weirdest things ever. Secondly, you obviously have to confront him. Like, your boyfriend has pictures and videos of your younger brother on his laptop, and your younger brother has no idea he was even being filmed or taken photographs of. Yes, you must confront him. And I would say, obviously, you break up with him immediately, even potentially go to the police. But let's see what the people of Reddit were saying. Let's jump into some relevant comments. Somebody said, he's clearly got a thing for your brother. It's not a healthy way of expressing it. Creepy as anything, but it's quite obvious. So confront him. Tell him how uncomfortable it makes you feel. Be prepared to break it off with him. I'm sorry you're having to deal with this. Yeah, very reasonable. Pretty much exactly what I said. OP said, it's weird because I never even suspected that he has a thing for my brother. I would have noticed something like that. I honestly can't believe it. Well, you didn't notice it. So there you go. And also, clearly your boyfriend wants to keep this a secret. He probably is bisexual. Maybe he's even gay. Who knows? And yes, he might be ashamed of this. And he's probably trying to cover it up as much as possible. I mean, I would be pretty ashamed of having a folder full of pictures and videos of my girlfriend's younger brother on my laptop. I probably wouldn't want to tell the people of the world about that either. But there you go. Now, OP also added this in the comments. I was talking to my brother the other day, and he told me, oh no. See, this is what you get when it's like sort of live like this. Live reaction to the following sentence. He told me that his dirty clothes keep going missing and that he's convinced someone at the gym or other places keeps stealing it. Oh my goodness. I just found it kind of funny / weird at that time, but now I'm thinking it's way more effed up. Yeah, probably is. What is he doing with your brother's dirty clothes? I think we all know, realistically. Maybe he's putting them in the wash, helping out. I doubt it. Let's jump into some other comments. It's not just that your boyfriend is sexually attracted to your brother, but that he's clearly obsessive. I'm a single guy, and I'll look at Facebook pictures of my crush, but I don't save them onto my computer. That is super creepy. That's very fair. And him taking pictures of your brother sleeping sounds criminal. Yeah, that's what I said. This is a lot worse than your boyfriend being secretly gay. Completely agree. Somebody else replied to this saying, in my opinion, saving them isn't so much of the concern as is taking the creep shots of him. That is a serious WTF. Yeah, I mean, that is the illegal stuff there, surely. I would take the laptop and show my brother, then go to the police to report it. Boom. Exactly what I said. Let me know in the comments down below throughout all of this, guys, by the way, what you're currently thinking. If you do a little timestamp as well, that's pretty cool because then I will know that you're sort of reacting live in the way I am. You know, if you listen to the whole story and then give your opinion, it will obviously be influenced by the update that we're going to get into and future comments. But if you give a little timestamp now, then I'll know that maybe we're thinking the same things, maybe not. I feel like this is a pretty cut and dry case. Somebody else said, I don't recommend confronting him alone. It's a valid point. This is some very unhealthy stuff. And I feel like if you corner someone with this sort of thing, he may react in a way that puts you in danger. Don't do that, even if you crave the dramatic airing. I don't think OP is the sort of person that does crave the dramatic airing or the drama, given the fact that she said, I don't even know whether to confront him or not. I feel like if she loved the drama, she already would have done. This probably goes beyond drama, though. This is more like, oh my gosh, my boyfriend is a creep and might go to prison for this. Last comment. Somebody said, yep, I suspect the boyfriend will react very poorly to OP confronting him. And this is a big revelation that could potentially bring to light something the boyfriend wants to hide and is ashamed of. This could be really dangerous to OP. That's very valid. Yeah, I completely agree. I would like to say that that wouldn't happen, but obviously I've got no idea who OP is, who OP's boyfriend is. So yeah, it's probably best to have some backup here, especially given the fact that what he's doing must be illegal. I don't know where you are in the world, but it must be. You can't just take photos of people without their consent if they're sleeping. Also, we don't know where this person, where your brother was asleep. Like, is it in his bed in his own house? Actually, it must be, right? I imagine your boyfriend is staying around at yours, and then what? Gets up in the middle of the night and goes into your brother's room and takes a photo of him. I mean, that's the worst case. Jesus, that's really quite disgusting. Anyway, let's get into the update. This was posted, what, a month or so after the original, back in 2018 still, but the start or the middle of September. Sorry, this is just a funny start to an update. Sorry to disappoint, but this isn't a positive update. I don't think anyone expected it to be positive. Imagine, like, oh wow, we got a positive update. Turns out, my brother actually asked my boyfriend to take loads of creepy photos of him without his consent, which makes no sense, and store them on his laptop. You know, what could possibly be positive about any update anyway? I'm still trying to mentally process it all, hence the delayed post. So I grabbed the laptop to take pictures of the photo albums. I found way more stuff than I originally stumbled upon. A lot of the commenters in the original post said that he probably used me to get closer to my brother. Oh god, that's a good point. Didn't even think about that. I didn't quite believe it at first, but they were right. Okay. I didn't even think about that. That's so disgusting. While I was taking pictures of the photo albums, I found more folders. He began saving these pictures 4 to 5 months before we started dating, and my brother didn't even know him at that time. Oh my god, so he fully did use you to get close to your brother. That realization sent chills down my spine. That's sending chills down my spine now. I also went on the internet. The bookmarks, the browsing history, it was all horrific. I'm not going to elaborate because it's honestly sickening. It's clear that he has an obsession with my brother, an extremely violent and disturbing fantasies about him. I'm not talking about BDSM or bondage, although some of that was there too. This was absolutely messed up, scary stuff. I cannot believe that I was so clueless about everything. Sorry, so it's worse or more violent and more disturbing than BDSM and bondage. Okay, so, I mean, I'm not even going to begin to imagine what that might be, but yeah, you can probably work that out for yourselves, I suppose. Jeez. I went over to my brother's place and I explained everything, showing him proof on the actual laptop. He was shocked and creeped out, of course, but didn't believe that my ex was behind this for different reasons. But he's not gay. He wouldn't do something like this, etc. Notice how, thankfully, he is now an ex. I wanted to go to the police, but he completely refused. I explained that this isn't just a crush from a seemingly straight friend. This is an unhealthy, psychotic obsession. He completely denied that he was in danger and actually seemed embarrassed more than anything. I told him that my ex actually started creeping on him months before our relationship began and took all of these creep shots. Besides, the browsing history and bookmarks were specific to him. It would make anyone freak out. When I showed him the pictures of his clothes, he was very confused. He asked me why would my ex steal his dirty clothes? But even then, he still didn't want to go to the police. To be honest, your brother's probably in a bit of a state of shock right now. Can't quite believe this is happening and is probably trying to sort of like calm the situation down and make it seem to himself as if it's not as crazy as it is to sort of settle himself, because I feel like if you accepted the fact that this is the facts and this is what's going on, you'd go to a weird place. You'd be in shock, wouldn't you? I mean, think of the reaction to that. So he's probably just trying to calm himself down and be like, no, I don't believe it. It can't be that bad. It's probably a little bit of disbelief in there. Anyway, my plan was actually to confront my ex in public, but my brother just straight away texted him to come over. Side note, he arrived super fast. I wonder what he was expecting. When my ex came, I showed him the laptop and I asked him to explain. The entire situation was so bizarre. While I was talking, he seemed incredibly angry. I've never seen such a look on his face before. But then he calmed down and casually confessed to everything. He said that it was just a habit he got into and that he's truly sorry. At that point, my brother said that this is probably a prank and that it wasn't funny, etc. Sorry, I just got to go back to the word habit there. I have a habit of, going on my phone when I go to the toilet, going on TikTok. That's a habit, right? It's, pretty harmless. I don't know what it's doing to my brain, but pretty harmless. And it's a bit of a habit. Not sure about the habit of taking unsolicited photos of your girlfriend's younger brother and thinking about the fantasies of what you want to do to him that are more dark than BDSM. Not sure that's a habit. There we go. Maybe it's just a difference in definition there between me and OP's ex. Who knows? I mean, fair enough if it is. Just not quite sure about that one. Anyway, OP says, I started crying a little and my ex rolled his eyes and told me to stop crying. He was so nonchalant and cold, I didn't even recognize him anymore. Then he said that he would immediately stop doing this if we kept this to ourselves. I think my brother finally believed him then because he was absolutely dumbstruck. Okay, so maybe your brother then actually did think it was a joke or something all along. Again, he probably just couldn't begin to even fathom that this was legit. Imagine if this happened to you. It's actually crazy. You think you know someone and then they've been doing this. I have a little theory myself that actually, and you know what I'm going to do just for this? I'm going to go back to full face cam because I do actually think this is true. Everyone in the world is, I think, quite a bit darker / weird than they portray. I'm not talking sexually necessarily, I just mean in general. I think a lot of people have a darker side to them, not in a malicious way, not like this, but a more kind of, I don't want to say perverted, but they're into certain things that you wouldn't talk about publicly, even with your close mates and stuff. And again, I'm not saying it's to this extent. And even me saying this now is why I think a few of you will like the fact that this is sort of as live, unedited, because I can't go back on what I'm saying right here. I think that, a lot of people are maybe 1% of OP's ex here. They've got a few dark secrets that they don't really want people to tell. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. It's just, how people are. And their deepest, darkest secrets probably at some points aren't you don't want to share those things publicly. However, when it comes to this, I think this is another level. And once again, I am not saying that this is common at all. I just think if you're honest with yourself, deep down, when you're alone at night, you do think of some weird things, let's be honest. Just saying, I'm talking about you in particular. I don't do that, just saying. But not like this. But there we go. My ex said that he'd take down the cameras too. Wait, what? That's how he got the photos. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm tempted to just give this the moment that it needs. Sorry. Wow. That is genuinely crazy. He'd put up cameras. Guys. Sensational scenes. Wow. Let's carry the music back on. All I can say to that is genuinely, wow. Goodness me. Take down the cameras and we shouldn't make a big deal out of it. I asked him where the cameras are and he proceeded to show us. He probably thought he was a good guy for cooperating with us and that it would make the situation less creepy. But it turns out there was a camera in the shower as well. I need a zoom in on my face. I should have done that. How do I do that? I just get close to the camera, Wow, and that's content. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, I'm very sorry because you just missed some absolute golden content there from my face. think we can all agree on that. Cameras in the shower. Pretty normal. It was nauseating. The conversation that followed was extremely uncomfortable, and my ex said some very provocative and inappropriate things. They ended up having a huge argument about the stolen clothes, amongst other topics, and the rest was pretty awful. I eventually went to stay at a friend's place. I'd already packed my stuff anyway. Later that night, my ex texts me that I'm a bad person for invading his privacy. Talk about irony. And that I'm selfish, narcissistic, a bad human being, etc. He said that he's willing to forgive me though. Yes, he really said that. I blocked his number on everywhere. A day later, he came to me at work and I told him to stay away from me. He did that every day for 1 week at different locations until I seriously threatened him. He said that he never cared about me anyway and wished me luck for my future relationships. Holy cow. So he literally never cared. I mean, he just was going after your brother. A couple of days ago, my brother texted me. We haven't spoken at all since that day and apologized. But he still refuses to address the elephant in the room. He's just pretending it never happened. I told him that my ex is clearly not stable. Why would you not notify the police? I honestly don't know what to do. Is there a way that I can report this just in case? I mean, yes. You don't have to be the victim of a crime to report a crime. You can, of course, report it. I think it probably would need your brother to want to get involved, though, for this to actually go anywhere. But, you know, if I see a murder... Well, it doesn't make any sense, sorry. If I see a... Because obviously, if you're a murder victim, it's quite hard to report your crime. If I see a robbery, I can still report it to the police, surely. I mean, I don't have to be the victim. Anyway. Oh, by the way, it was his 21st birthday yesterday, and I called him in the morning. He told me that he got a present from an unknown sender. I said the sender is probably not unknown. Like, this is 100% my psycho ex. I just know it. What's the present? We don't know what the present is. Oh, that's a shame, but also probably a good thing. As I said, this isn't a positive update. A lot of people seem to be concerned, and that's the only reason I posted this. I just hope things don't get worse. Oh my goodness me. Let's get into the comments. Girl, take that whole laptop to the police. I'm not kidding, this is very serious. If your brother ends up dead, you will never forgive yourself. I agree. I feel like we've seen from OP's ex's reaction that this guy has no remorse. He doesn't really even care that he's caught. And now he might go completely psychotic. So yes, this needs to be higher up, somebody replies. OP, this guy is showing serious signs of a true psychopath and future serial killer behavior. Yeah, I agree. You are not safe and neither is your brother. Take that laptop and go to the freaking police now. Don't wait. Don't worry about anything else. And check your brother's house for more cameras instantly, if the police don't. This is something you don't just stop doing. It's still happening now. You didn't notice before. You probably wouldn't have noticed it for months if you didn't look on the laptop. That's a very good point. I mean, there's probably more cameras, right? He doesn't have to take all the cameras down. You don't know what he's still got on other devices. You know, there's a decent chance he might have a camera that is like live streaming your bedroom or something like that, or your brother's bedroom that he just hasn't told you about, or like some listening device or something. This guy is clearly crazy. The way he talks to you and views the world is truly disturbing, and the way he told you to stop crying, yeah, that is psychopath behavior. How he went calm, same thing. There's a real freaking chance he will try to be near to your brother in some other way, and he'll do something much worse to him than just pictures. Go to the police, stay safe. Somebody else said this. This looks interesting. Your brother is an idiot. I hope he wishes up before your ex stashes him in an oubliette. See, normally I would look up this word, but I can't right now because I'm doing this live. Oubliette. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe some form of but like washing basket, maybe? And starts lowering lotion down to him in a basket. Oh, right, I see. Some sort of jail. Who knows? You let me know in the comment down below. That's weird. Idiot is a strong word, but actually, now that I think about it, yeah, he is, because you know you're not just an idiot for doing idiotic things. You're also an idiot for not doing things that you know would save your life, right? As in, if I didn't take medication for sepsis, I'd be an idiot. There we go. Final comments from... That's just such a bad example, but also a good example. Would that be taken out if this was edited? Arguably not, actually. Probably would keep it in. Final comments from OP. I definitely won't post another update. This is the last one. And I forgot to mention it, but I have the laptop. He said that he was doing us a favor by letting us keep it. I mean, he didn't really put up a fight about it. Thanks for your concern either way. And there we go. That is the end of that roller coaster. I don't really know what else to say other than what I've already said throughout that. I do just think the main thing is that OP has to go to the cops immediately, no matter what their brother says. Again, you don't have to be the victim of a crime to report it. Also, you're the one with the evidence anyway. Also, surely your brother will be more pushed to actually like press charges or help out this ridiculous situation if you go to the police first and are like, look, the police have said that this is a real criminal case. My ex could be doing this amount of time with the right evidence. If you come forward as well, it will add etc onto the charges, whatever, onto the sentence. I don't think it would take much convincing, and I don't think it would take much time, to be honest, for OP's brother to get on side and be like, okay, yeah, this was super weird and we need to do this now. So there we go. Crazy stuff. And I'm not quite sure how to react. I think it's just the unsettling thing is the sort of psychopathic nature of this man, in that you guys had no idea what was going on. And by the way, I don't blame you for that, because that is the beauty of a psychopath. I say beauty very lightly there, but they can fit in very well. They can be very charming. They can get along with people extremely well. People often like them a lot. But underneath all of this, you have this obviously psychopathic underbelly, which is their true character, and only shows in certain situations, I suppose. Like the fact that he went calm there and was like locked in and just knew how to act and was like, you know what, I don't care that I've been caught. This. Stop crying, etc. I'll take the cameras down, whatever. It's not as if he was panicked and like, oh my god, I can't believe I got caught. Like, this is the definition of a psychopath. So yeah, I mean, the main point is you got to go to the police. But there we go. My ex turned up last night drunk. Tomorrow is his wedding day. Should I tell his soon-to-be wife? I was with my ex for 2 years. It wasn't the best relationship, and we broke up because I moved for uni and just didn't want to be with him anymore. It's been almost 5 years since we broke up, and I'm engaged to be married with my fiance, who is absolutely my soulmate. Yesterday evening at around 10 o'clock, he rang our doorbell drunk. His bachelor party was in the city I live in, and he came to see me. When my fiance opened the door, my ex just started sobbing, saying that he couldn't believe he, my fiance, was real or something like that. We took him into the apartment because he didn't look dangerous. He just vocally vomited before he actually vomited in our bath. What I could gather is that he was still very hurt because of our breakup, that he thinks that we could have made it work, and he regrets treating me badly. He then threw up again and called an Uber to his hotel. It was very surreal. He was fine. We fed him waffles to sober him up and told him to write to us when he was in his hotel to make sure he didn't die or something. I was left with a weird feeling, almost dirty. I'm thinking of contacting his soon-to-be wife. Or should I call him to encourage him to tell that to his fiancée? Or should I not do anything and let this just be an anecdote for my future? Wow. Very, very interesting. I don't know about this one. I really don't. I personally think you have to tell her. You have to tell her. Because if you don't, then you know that he's going into this relationship, into this wedding, into this marriage, not fully in it, right? Like, he's still got regrets. Do you want to be married to somebody that has regrets over their past and that is still, like, as soon as they have a bit of alcohol, thinking about their ex? No. So I think you owe it to her to tell her. I know it's not your place, but also, like, put yourself in her shoes. Anyway, let's see what the people of Reddit had to say about this. Somebody said, wow, interesting. They said exactly the same thing I've just said. Put yourself in his wife's shoes. Would you want to sign your life away to this person? OP replied, I guess I'd want to know, but I would also prefer my partner to tell me that. Yeah, I agree. It isn't your place to tell her, and I agree exactly with your logic there. Tell him to tell her. But I would also say, like, look, if you don't tell her, then I'm going to, because she has to know. Somebody else said, well, would he tell her though? Like, why would he tell her? By telling her yourself, you risk not being believed or coming across as petty, but at least you know somebody tried to warn her. Now, OP left a little edit and a couple of updates below this. First of all, she said, thanks for all the feedback. It seems like Reddit is as split on this as I am. Just because this kept coming up, my main goal with telling her is not for them to break up. I don't want that. That's not why I would want to tell her. The reason for me telling her is solely that I would want to know if I was her. Nothing else. It's also not me bragging about him not being over me. That's not something I care about. And I wonder how some of you twisted it into that. Also, a tiny update. I decided that contacting the bride was the wrong move because we are not friends. However, I sent his sister, an old friend of mine, a message basically saying to talk to her brother because he appeared at my door drunk and distressed, and to make sure he was okay. She thanked me for the message and apologized profusely because my ex had been apparently acting a fool for a few weeks now leading up to his wedding. She asked me if I was okay and if her brother had gone back to the hotel room because they couldn't find him. I told her he'd Ubered home and had written to us that he had arrived in his room at around 11:30 p.m. She thanked me again, and I haven't heard from her since. Oh, and another update. His sister called me again to ask me if he'd come by or said anything about his whereabouts. Apparently, he didn't show for the wedding. Oh my goodness. Apparently, he didn't show for the wedding, and nobody knows where he is. So, me telling the fiancé is now obsolete. Goodness me. Okay, so that update came, I presume, the next day on the wedding day. I forget that this is all happening very, very quickly and the night before the wedding. Jesus. All right, somebody said in the comments down below, you and your fiancé handled every bit of this as graciously as anyone could expect. Contacting his sister was the best move you could have made. Somebody said, oh dang, he ran out on the wedding. That girl dodged a major bullet. And finally someone said, holy heck, the edits. I hope he's okay. Please update us if they find him. I mean, yeah, that is true. Like, it's not just that he ran out on the wedding. Nobody's actually seen him, I suppose, since he left your house, OP. So, yeah, I hope he's all right. To be honest, it does sound... I know this is obviously like a crazy event and very, very distressing for the wife-to-be, but I think in the long term, it's probably a good thing these guys didn't get married. Anyway, 10 days later, we got this final update. Long story short, he bailed. He decided he did not want to commit to his fiancée. Bailed, and days later, called to break off the engagement. A few more details. After his sister and I talked, my ex's fiancée reached out and was kind of mad. The best man had told her he went to see me. At first, she was convinced we had sex, so that took a bit of talking. I felt sorry. She was very distraught. She apologized, I apologized, and I told her I wished her the best. Saturday, I received a call from the sister. Apparently, the ex reappeared. He went all the way to France. I'm not actually sure where this is happening. I think it might be in England because of the word uni earlier, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, France, overseas, and this definitely doesn't take place in France, does it? His sister called me to apologize because my ex had stolen one of my lipsticks. I honestly hadn't noticed, but my ex admitted it to her. She PayPal'd me the money to buy myself a new one. I said I wasn't mad, and I asked her how she was and how his ex-fiancé was. On their end, everything is a mess. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Everyone is mad at him. I don't know many more details, and I kind of wasn't willing to ask, but yeah, that's it. Okay, and there we go. One final comment. He stole a lipstick? A lipstick? What? Who does that? It's so bizarre, it's funny. Stealing a lipstick of all things, and then his sister PayPaling you for it? Thank you for the laugh. OP replied saying, our guess is that he just grabbed the first thing he knew was mine that was small enough to fit in his pocket. And there we go. Okay, not quite sure how to react to that one. Slightly strange story all in. This guy, I think, just was battered and clearly had realized over the previous weeks that he did not want to do this, and he was probably too much of a coward to admit it to his fiance and had to do this instead and just, yeah, get out of there, which is a terrible, terrible thing to do. I mean, if you're going to do something like this that close to a wedding, at least have the decency to actually explain to people that you're not feeling it. If you're not feeling it, yeah, it's pretty poor to do it that late, and I assume that everyone involved is going to lose quite a lot of money on the wedding, but it's at least better than just running away and then just, you know, on the day, the bride to be just being like, well, where's my fiance, where's my husband, and just, you know, obviously being devastated. But yeah, there you go. As for stealing the lipstick, I don't know. This guy is he's just gone crazy. He's just panicked, hasn't he? That's the thing. He's just panicked, and yeah, he needs some help, but he's also a complete jerk. Just from looking through the comments and OP's account, I think the OP lives in Germany, or at least is German, so safe to assume that this wedding was taking place in Germany, and that, yeah, her ex just fled across the border into France. It's not really that funny, but it kind of is. Like, I can just imagine this guy just being like so stressed and panicked and being like, you know what, I can't even just not go to my wedding. I've got to leave the country. What an idiot. What an absolute idiot. And like, just why is he stolen lipstick? Again, like, as I said earlier, I feel like this is a good man to dodge from I hope now his ex. But doing it in this way, absolutely shocking. My husband got fired for harassing a co-worker and won't talk to me about it. I am a 36-year-old woman, and my husband, Charlie, who is a 41-year-old man, and I have been together for 10 years, married for 6. We've had our ups and downs, but we're currently in an up. He's never done anything like this in the past, so it came out of left field for me, and I'm very much shocked and at a loss here. Charlie is a computer programmer and was a senior engineer at his former company, where he'd worked for 4 years. He'd never had any trouble with co-workers, and we're both friendly with a few of them, mostly other men and their wives. On Friday of last week, he came home at around 11 AM and told me he'd been fired. He was really upset and agitated, and I didn't want to push him about it. But he told me that they'd said he was harassing a co-worker and was therefore fired. So the information I've been able to get out of him is this. The co-worker is Beth, a junior engineer who he's never mentioned to me before. He said she's, quote, terrible at her job. Beth slept with a senior engineer we're both friendly with, Darren. Darren wasn't involved in the harassment, wasn't fired, etc. The company's lawyers were there, and among the things they told him was that Beth could have pressed charges, but chose not to. Something happened with her car, but he won't say what. His exact words were, there was something with her car. And finally, he was escorted off of the premises and is not allowed back in the building to get his belongings, and instead has to arrange with security to pick them up after business hours. As far as anything else goes, he won't give me any details. He isn't interested in seeing a lawyer because he says that everything is legal. He's basically admitted to, quote, sending Beth some emails, but he won't say what they said or anything like that. I don't know if Beth sleeping with Darren had to do with it, but the fact that he gave me that detail makes me think it does. I'm not sure how that relates. Darren is a very nice single man who's in his late 20s and approximately the same age as Beth. My mind is running wild here. Charlie has been depressed and withdrawn all weekend. He won't talk to me about it, and he won't talk much in general. I work remotely, so I was home all day with him, and he played video games all day and then went to bed at 6 PM. The fact that he won't tell me anything and isn't interested in seeing a lawyer makes me think that it's bad, and it makes me worry that everything is true and not just a misunderstanding or a small thing blown out of proportion. He has never been flirtatious with other women or cruel to them, and he's also never said anything bad about other women engineers that he's worked with. I don't know what to do here. My instinct is to be supportive of my husband, but I don't know what kind of behaviour I'd be supporting. I don't want to run to his co-workers we know and ask them, since they're more our friends than my friends, and while we spend time together at get-togethers or bars, I'm not close with them. In an immediate sense, I don't know what to do about helping someone who is so depressed and won't talk to me. Okay, there we go. That is it for the original post. I completely get what OP is saying. You want to back up your husband here, of course you do, but you don't know what he's done. Can you support someone when you don't know what they've done? I'm not entirely sure, even if they are your husband. If he's not giving you the details, then that's not really your fault. Anyway, let's jump into some top comments before getting into the update for this one. Somebody said, I would tell him you have to assume the worst if he won't be honest with you. I've got to say, he must have done some bad stuff to be escorted off the premises with no warning like that. Either he was hating on her and went over the top, or he tried to F her and went over the top, or he tried to F her and then hated on her. Okay, I suppose, maybe, but I'm not sure about sort of guessing what he's done either. It's one thing him not telling you, it's another thing trying to work out what he might have done. This comment continues saying, edit, I've just reread the whole thing. I'm guessing that he tried to F her, then sent crazy emails and vandalized her car. He could easily still be charged criminally and or sued. Yeah, as I said, I'm not sure about jumping to conclusions, but I get why the people of Reddit are trying to work out or, yeah, guess at what might have happened. Somebody else actually replied to this comment saying, I've worked at larger companies and when they fire people, sometimes they are walked right out of the building. The reasoning is they don't want the fired person to make a scene and rock the boat. It's heartless in my opinion, but it does happen. Something tells me that OP's husband did something terrible because lawyers were there and apparently the girl could have pressed charges. That is very unusual. My guess is OP's husband got jealous that Darren was sleeping with Beth and not him, as he had a crush on Beth for a while, and he flipped out and went all nice guy on her. He mentioned there are emails, so there is evidence in writing as well. This does not bode well for OP. Again, I can't really argue with this comment, and this does seem pretty reasonable. I'm just not sure that I want to go there and say what might have happened. I mean, maybe I'm sort of doing a little bit of a cop-out there because I know there is an update to come, but just my opinion. Anyway, one final comment said this. Seeing as it got so far that he's been fired and he doesn't want to fight it, it sounds like the allegations are probably true. The fact that he brings up Darren makes it seem like he's harassed her as a result of sexual jealousy. Does he usually shut down conversation on things? Does he usually keep things from you? I'd be very cautious about what he's hiding and what it means for you and your relationship. Even if it's not sexual and it's just plain old harassment, do you want to be with a grown man who harasses young women to the point he gets fired? It's a good point. I mean, you know, he's 41, Beth is, in her late 20s. Yeah, you don't want to be with somebody that does this sort of thing, obviously. I mean, no matter what the age of everyone involved is. But anyway, let's, with that all being said, get straight into the update of this one, which was actually posted the next day. By the way, I'm not disagreeing with any of these comments, and what they're saying is probably accurate. Let's be honest. I just wouldn't jump to that conclusion straight away because, you know, we're just guessing. We don't really know. But let's see what actually did happen in the update. OP says, my thread was locked before I was able to respond to any of the comments, but I was able to read them this morning. I got up at 5:30 to go to the gym before work, and my husband was still awake playing video games. I presented him with the very good idea that somebody suggested of sending me an email with the details, but that it wasn't acceptable to shut me out of this situation since it affects me too. His response was basically, the paperwork is in my car. Go get it if you want to read it. I asked him to go and get it so we could look at it together, and he said, you're going to believe what you want anyway. All of this is unusual for our marriage because I'm a pretty patient person, I think. We went out to the car together and he got in, handed me the papers, and left. Well, that is not a good sign. For about 2 hours, I was panicked because I didn't know where he went, if he was okay, if he was thinking of hurting himself. But his mum texted me at 9 saying he was over there, asking me what happened, if everything is okay, etc. His parents live about 15 minutes away, and I guess he told her he's going to be staying there. So, the paperwork. According to the paperwork, he sent Beth multiple harassing emails from anonymous email accounts. The emails are printed out and attached. He apparently did this while at work, and they've been monitoring his user account for 3 months. The emails aren't sexual or romantic in nature, and they're all anonymous, and about how she sucks at her job, wouldn't be there if she wasn't a woman, how she should quit before she gets fired, and how everyone in the office hates her. He made fake user accounts for his company's product that she works on and submitted bad reviews of her work. He also did this while logged in at work. He sent an anonymous email to her boss saying that she was sleeping with a senior engineer on another project. He put a gun catalogue on the windshield of her car. I don't know what this gesture means, but I obviously understand that it was meant to be threatening. Unfortunately, inside was a subscription card that the company auto-filled with his name and address. She also says she's been harassed for the same length of time, about 3 months, on Twitter. He only logged into one Twitter account that harassed her at work, so they can only say that one was him, all telling her to quit her job. So I don't know what to do now. This is all terrifying to me, and I feel so bad for this woman. I have no idea what this is all about. He works with other female engineers, he's worked with male engineers who don't pull their weight, and he's never done anything like this. I would have bet $1 million that he'd never do anything like this. He's at his parents' right now, and I don't know what my next move here could possibly be. This is so scary and out of left field to me. Goodness me, there we go. That is it for the update. Let's jump into some final comments. OP's actually added a little bit more information first of all before I give my final thoughts. So OP said this in the comments down below. I forgot to mention this paperwork is copied from the original and was signed by both him and his company. I don't know if that's a full admission, but it seems damning either way. Somebody said in response to this, time to sit your husband down and give an ultimatum. He needs to give you his side of the story or you two are done. This is clearly a Jekyll and Hyde thing going on. Somebody else said, your husband needs serious therapy. What you describe as absolutely abhorrent behaviour. If he is unwilling to get help about this or do anything to convince you that he understands how wrong what he did is, you should seriously consider getting as far away from this man as you can. What he did is evil. Okay, there we go. That is it for the first story of this episode. And that's kind of the reason why I didn't really want to jump to conclusions, because yes, what we've seen there is disgusting. I'm not taking away from that fact, but there was no like sexual stuff in there, which a lot of people were saying in the comments in the original post. I mean, doesn't really change the fact that you've got to leave your husband, right? Like, what is he doing? Also, why is he doing this? This is the main thing that's just so weird. Like, what's happened here in his mind for him to do this? To be honest, it doesn't really matter, but you can't be with someone like this. If he's doing this to a younger woman, I mean, you're a younger woman than him, so who knows? He could easily at some point in your lives together act like that with you. It's too scary, right? You got to get out of there. The cyber harassment is one thing, but leaving your name and address in a gun catalogue that you put on someone's car, I mean, leaving the name and address is stupid, but a gun catalogue on someone's car? Now, I'm not entirely sure whether that's like him saying to her, I'm threatening you with, a gun, or perhaps he wanted that to be found by, another member of staff on her car. Depends what sort of state this is in. Like, if that happened in the UK, it feels like he might have been trying to set her up a little bit, but all the comments, and I presume all of you guys are saying that no, actually, like, that's just threatening that, he wants to shoot her or something, which is just crazy. Like, again, I know I've said this so many times on the channel, but it's so weird to me how some people can seem so normal. Like, you've been together with this guy for 10 years, married for 6, OP, yet behind closed doors, or not even behind closed doors, at their place of work, they have so much hatred for this one woman for apparently no reason that they would threaten their life. Like, it's insane. And yeah, ultimately, you got to get out of there. My wife returned from a work retreat with a hickey. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I'm at a loss. How do I move forward? This was originally posted on February the 21st, 2025. I, a 27-year-old man, am in a fight with my wife, who is 28. We've had fights before, but not this bad. I'm at a loss on how to proceed. For context, we're college sweethearts, married for almost 6 years. We have a daughter who is 4. Our relationship was never perfect or without challenges. We've faced some family opposition with cultural differences, but we've made it work. She's my first love and my best friend. My wife works in corporate. Her job has annual work retreats that last for about a week. This year was in Vegas. I usually arrange my work schedule and tag along with her, and we make our own trip out of it. We couldn't this year. Our daughter gets major anxiety traveling long distances. We're working on it, but she wasn't budging, and we decided to choose our battles. So I stood behind and I held down the fort at home. The change of plans was a bummer because the trip was part of us reconnecting as both a couple and as a family. My wife's work hours have taken a toll, and her work-life balance leaves much to be desired. We entertain the idea of her skipping the retreat. Attendance is optional, but it's generally frowned upon if you don't, and my wife's making connections in her field. She grew increasingly weird. We have a system if either of us is away for extended periods. We keep in contact. For the first day or so, she was herself, but she grew distant. I'd even text her about important stuff and be left on read while she claimed she never saw my text. Whenever we talked, she was rushing me or our daughter off the phone. These were all times she wasn't involved in retreat activities. We were supposed to have a mini birthday celebration for our daughter over FaceTime. Our daughter was excited. It was something my wife promised her because the retreat overlapped her actual birthday. But she backed out because she had people up to her room after a seminar. It was like she wanted my permission to break her promise to our daughter. I told her I wasn't offering that, nor making her keep her word. She said I wasn't being fair, and this was a networking opportunity. They were business oriented and wouldn't understand her stepping away for family time. I said her decision is her decision, but she'd have to explain it to our daughter. She promised her that she'd rain check the following day. Our daughter didn't understand and cried. My wife ended up hanging up and leaving me to comfort our daughter alone. The whole incident rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. She didn't keep her word for the rain check either. She was documenting the retreat on social media. One co-worker, a 23-year-old man, was almost in every picture or video attached to her hip. In one pic, he had his arm too comfortably around her, IMO. He's a recent hire in my wife's department. She was asked to oversee him. I don't like the guy. He doesn't know boundaries. Once, in response to a work assignment, he texts my wife that she's exactly the kind of woman he needs to keep him in check. My wife brushed it off. She feels bad for him because he's not fitting in. She took him under her wing during his first retreat with the team. If I'd questioned, she'd say she was tired or networking. There was always something. But I've seen her at these retreats. This wasn't like her. She was just off. The day before her return home, she complained about a bruise on her neck. She stressed it was a bug bite. I didn't actually see the bruise until she came home. I instantly thought it was a full-on hickey. She kind of brushed it off after making a big deal of it over the phone. I didn't push because our daughter was present. But when I was able to confront her, she clung to her bug bite claim. When I kept pushing, she asked what I was trying to imply. I outright said I believed she had a hickey, and I didn't believe she was being honest with me. We had it out then. She was offended and angry at the accusation. Infidelity has always been a sore topic. Her family has a history of it. So we had a pretty bad fight, and she accused me of looking to pick a fight due to the incident with our daughter's birthday. I told her that had nothing to do with it, and everything to do with the hickey on her neck. The fight ended in an impasse. We're still not recovered. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I've always trusted my wife. I never doubted her, but this bruise doesn't look like a bug bite, it looks like a hickey. I often feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during that Vegas retreat. Now she's wearing turtlenecks, and we're caught between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. Communication usually prevails for us, but not now. I think my accusation pushed us to a new level of argument. I'm at a loss here. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? There we go. That is it for the original post. Before we get into the update, let's jump into some comments and see what the people of Reddit were saying. Somebody said, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I've never gotten a bug bite that looked like a hickey. Did she show you her phone or provide any proof that could support her innocence, or just dismiss you? The extra affection is a common move from guilt-ridden cheaters. Even if we stretch the imagination and believe it is a bug bite, she wasn't acting trustworthy, nor was she a good mother while they were in Vegas, and she needs to address and correct that. OP replied, no, I haven't had access to her phone. We usually have an open phone policy, but it's not something we've ever really done. I'm sure it will be another argument.
Somebody else said, why did you go on work trips with her in the past? Did she want you to, or did you not want her to go alone? What is, and why is it necessary to have, the system when one of you is away? Whose idea was the FaceTime birthday celebration? Did she not talk to her daughter at all on her birthday, or she just couldn't do the FaceTime celebration? OP replied, work-life balance was an issue, so she'd invite me on the retreats. The system is for an extended period away from each other, like how long the retreat was, especially since we have a child now. The birthday FaceTime was my wife's idea. She promised our daughter and got her excited about it. No, she didn't talk with our daughter until she was calling to cancel. That's another reason the birthday stunt rubbed me the wrong way. Well, that, I've got to say, guys, is actually terrible. Like, not chatting to your daughter at all on her birthday is so bad. I'm going to back my own parents up here. My parents never missed one of my birthdays ever. Like, they would make sure, even if there were work trips and stuff, they wouldn't go if it was on my birthday. So, first of all, respect to them. Actually, just last year, I think, was the first time that my dad wasn't there on my birthday, I believe. And I'm 26. So, you know, there's two ways of doing it. And by the way, I've been away on my birthday without my parents, but, you know, they want to be there, which is pretty nice. And it's definitely not like this mother. Anyway, OP then responded to a deleted comment saying, yeah, you don't get to disconnect from being a parent, especially to a minor, for extended holidays. You certainly don't ghost them on their birthday. And when you promise to do something special for them and got the child excited about it, and then just hang up on them while they're crying. To be honest, I don't even think the FaceTime is special at all, but there we go. I'm not insecure, OP says. My wife's gone on the retreats before. We both work outside the home and have the caring for our daughter, so it's not an imbalance. My wife's work-life balance is out of sorts. She's in the company of other adults plenty. I've been with my wife on these retreats and other social events. I know how she is. She was off this entire trip, and it wasn't appreciated her entertaining a co-worker who ignores boundaries and the fact that he had his arm wrapped around her waist like he was claiming her or something. I trusted her when she said she had a bug bite. I got things to help her treat it for when she returned. It was only after I saw the bruise in person that there was no mistaking it was a hickey for me, and I questioned her on it. Okay, then a week later, we got the following updates. Things are a roller coaster. I'm trying to process. It took a while for my wife and me to have any real conversation about the bruise on her neck. We were stuck between arguing and her showering our daughter and me with affection. I rarely saw the bruise because she was turtlenecked up, but I did note the healing process from reddish purple to yellow. There wasn't any more discussion about the Vegas retreat. She made it clear she was done talking about it and that she shouldn't need to defend herself to her husband. I told her she could do whatever she wanted, but I was done being treated like an idiot and I wasn't sharing a bed with someone I couldn't trust. So I moved into the guest room. Communication stopped. The silences were palpable. Even our daughter noticed. I'm not proud of that. I try keeping her out of fights. My wife came to the guest room one night and asked if we could talk. I could tell she'd been crying. She said she hated the way things were between us. She felt she was losing me either way. I told her I needed complete honesty. She confessed that she hooked up with that co-worker on our daughter's birthday. The hickey was from him. She was lost in the heat of the moment and didn't realize he was sucking so hard on her neck. By her account, they made out while doing some on top of the clothes stuff, and then he went down on her. It stopped there because he called her by a nickname that I affectionately call her. It snapped her back to the reality of her actions. She went to splash water on her face and saw the hickey. The guy made light of it and made a joke about the hickey being her souvenir. She blew up on him and kicked him out of her suites. Part of the reason she was avoiding me was out of guilt. She said she's coming clean because she doesn't want to hide things anymore. I asked her why she cheated. What was it about that guy that she deemed worth risking everything? She claimed it wasn't him specifically, nor is she unhappy with our marriage. She doesn't really know how to explain it, but a part of her feels broken. The more she looks in the mirror, the more she sees her dad, who is 57. A cycle of being consumed with work, distant from his child, and the infidelity he put her mum, who is 55, through. She said her family never talked about anything openly, and how when she was growing up, Her mum never addressed anything with her. I said, her parents didn't make her cheat. She chose to party up with a guy who constantly disrespected our relationship. These were all her decisions, and she at any point could have chosen our family. She agreed. She wants to blame her parents, but realizes this is on her. She apologized for cheating and for entertaining the guy's advances. She said she'll do whatever it takes to repair. Go to HR, quit her job, counseling, anything. She wants to make everything right. I told her I don't know what right looks like or if that's possible for us anymore. I knew we had our problems, but I thought there wasn't anything we couldn't talk out. She insisted we still could talk it out. We didn't have to give up on us. She tried giving this rally cry for our relationship, but I felt very numb. I said I didn't recognize her. Not just the betrayal of our vows, but also how she treated our daughter. She's like a stranger. She feels she failed as a wife and mum, but she loves us both beyond words and wants our life together and our family intact. I told her I couldn't give her the answer she wanted and thought we needed to separate and reevaluate. She didn't want separation. She felt we should stay together in our home. But I told her a separation was happening. Either she was leaving the home or I was with our daughter. She consented to leaving so as to best not uproot our daughter so much. She asked for our daughter not to be taken away from her. My wife's staying with my in-laws. I know that's difficult in itself because she doesn't have the best relationship with her parents. One of the hardest parts is the shift for our daughter now. Right now, she believes her mum's just busy with work per usual. She hasn't questioned it too much. My mother-in-law called the other day. She made no excuses for my wife, but she's advocating for us to work through it. She told me times when she heard my wife describe me as the anchor she always wanted. She believes there's something worth fighting for if I'm open. Despite some family opposition we faced throughout our relationship, my mother-in-law was always a supporter of us. I'm even more at a loss. I never imagined this kind of betrayal from my wife. She was my safe place. I feel numb, yet broken. I'm in love with her. That hasn't changed, but I don't see myself, her, our relationship, or our family the same. Everything's more tense because it's fresh. I think this period of separation is for the best. I'm not sure about divorce. I haven't let myself fully go there. I'm not set either way. I don't know where things go from here, but I'm focusing on our daughter and taking things one step at a time. I feel that's all I can do right now. Thanks again to everyone for the support. It is much appreciated. Okay, and there we go. Let's jump in to some comments before I give my final thoughts. Somebody said it was already established that there had been line crossing with the co-worker prior to the trip, even if it wasn't physical yet. But even if there hadn't been, I've known co-workers' pet names for their significant others before when only interacting with them on a professional level. The fact that the guy both intentionally gave her a hickey and used the pet name says a whole heck of a lot about him though. Someone willing to engage in an affair is bad enough. This guy was doing it as some kind of sick power play. I mean, that's a great point. He is 23 as well, so he's probably very immature, and I can definitely see how someone like that is, doing it for their own ego, to be like, oh, I did this. He's probably like gone and told all his mates how he broke up a relationship with an older woman, you know. Some people like that do exist. Now, somebody replied to this saying, it is also possible that it's something super common, like honey or baby, but OP said no, it's actually a specific nickname. It's not derived from her name or anything. It just summed up things I loved about her in one word. Apparently, he turned it into a sexual context. I mean, I don't want to get too far away from the real villain of the story, who is your wife, but this guy is awful. Somebody else said, one question, how close was the colleague to her to know her nickname that you use, and why did she let him this close to her literally and figuratively? Opie said, at the time I knew they had a friendship. She was asked to mentor him as he joined her department, so she took him under the wing and was supposed to be showing him the ropes. They would text and stuff and he would cross boundaries. His texts increasingly read like a guy fishing for an opportunity though. My wife shut the idea down as not even a factor for her, and I chose to trust her because I never had a reason to doubt her before. As far as the nickname, it was something only I called her, but it wasn't like a secret thing. I called her by it in front of others and our daughter. She claims the guy overheard me say it when she had me on speaker once, and he asked her about it afterwards. Okay, so I guess that leads us into a final question for OP, which ultimately has to be, do you see yourself, or do you want to get back with your wife or not? And it's a very, very tough one, but I have quite strong opinions on this just based on what I've read. Now, if she had just gone on this retreat and maybe she liked the look of this guy, and on one night she made a huge error, did what they did, and then immediately came to you and your daughter, well, maybe not your daughter, but you know what I mean, came to you and said, I can't believe it, I've done this, I'm so sorry, this is the worst thing I've ever done, etc, 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 told you everything, was completely honest about it, came home from the trip, whatever. I think then and only then could there have been any potential for you to forgive her if you wanted to. I'm not saying you should, by the way. I'm saying that only under those circumstances would, in my opinion, you be able to potentially forgive her. However, the fact of the matter is that she lied to you for who knows how long. A while, right? Like, she said the hickey was a bug bite. She was just avoiding you the entire trip, not just in that one moment or that one day. The fact that she didn't speak to your daughter on her birthday because she was like just going after this guy. The fact that this has been a thing before, which you've obviously talked about, the guy being close to her or trying to get with her clearly, and her not actually, well, I suppose either she didn't understand it or was just a bit naive to what he was doing, or she actually knew what he was doing and was like, oh, don't worry, it's fine. Whereas in reality, she was probably actively encouraging it. All these things and more add up, and therefore I can say with all that context, then I don't see how you can ever get back with her, because it wasn't just the one moment of madness, cheating. It was all the lying and deceit and everything else on top of that. So for me, I think this relationship is sadly done. I don't know how you could ever trust someone like this again. To be honest, I think it'd be very hard to, even if they did just cheat and then immediately apologize and the cheating was the only thing. But all this as well, I think it's going to be impossible. But hey, I'm not in love with this woman anyway. So there you go. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. That is going to do it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did and want more right away, check out this episode on screen. Subscribe over there if you're new, and I'll catch you on the next one.
My boyfriend expects me to keep up a lie with his family, but it feels wrong. So, my boyfriend and I have been together for 4 years. Guys, they're both 28 years old. OP is a woman. We live across the country from his parents. So, this Christmas is the first time I will actually be meeting them. They are hosting us at their house for 2 weeks. I'm super thrilled to meet his family. It will be his parents and 2 siblings that still live at home. He has met my parents quite a few times because they live in the same area as us. He moved here for school about 10 years ago and loved it, found a job and stayed. Everything is going amazingly. We moved in together 2 years ago and our relationship is just progressing naturally. We aren't really in a rush to try and move quickly or anything, but I will call it a very serious relationship at this point. So, anyway, yesterday we boarded our 6-hour flights. He seems a little bit nervous and fidgety, but I know that he doesn't fly very much, so I attributed it to that, and I told him I was there for him if he needed anything, to comfort him, and to let me know if I could do anything to calm his nerves. He said it was fine, and we were having a pretty good flight. Now, partway through the flight, he grabs my hand and tells me he wants to tell me something. He tells me that his parents think that we are a fairly new relationship. They don't know that we live together. They don't know that he is close with my family. He told them that we met at work, when in reality we met at school years ago. We had a lot of the same classes and met in school, but we stayed friends for a long time. He tells me that they think he lives in an entirely different city. He lied to them about what degree he has, and they think he has an entirely different job. He told me that a few white lies about making his parents happy so they'd keep sending him money during school snowballed into not knowing how to tell them, and he pretty much has a totally fake life in their eyes now. He told them that I work in the same field as his fake job, even though I don't. He gave them a totally random family backstory on me. He really wants me to keep up appearances with the stories he told them over this holiday because he doesn't want to make a big scene and be embarrassed about having to lay it all out, and would prefer to wait until we get home again to tell them everything. I feel extremely uncomfortable with this, and I was honestly pretty shocked. I've said hello to his mum on speakerphone conversations, popped in for a Skype hello when they were chatting, and honestly, I had no idea that he had made up a huge story about us and me. I realise now that I've only actually spoken to her in the last year, which is how long his family thinks we've been together. It makes me feel like I can't trust him. He promised me that this is the only thing he's ever lied about. He said he lied about it because he wanted his parents to be happy with his decisions and wanted them to think he was making the choices they wanted for him. Would it be reasonable to assume that these are the only lies he's told and he hasn't fabricated anything within our own relationship? He never told me they didn't know anything about us. He always just made it seem like they did. I'm not really sure where to go from here or how to tell him that I don't want to do this. His parents paid for our tickets. Would the nice thing to do just be to close my mouth and let him sort this out on his own when we get home and just play along? I don't know what to do. We got here yesterday and everyone is fabulous, but so far I've just kept my mouth shut about everything. The first big family dinner is tonight, which I expect is where most of the conversation about us and what we do is going to come up, and I'm not sure how to handle it. Oh my goodness me. What a web of lies your boyfriend has constructed, OP. Right from the very beginning, this has all been leading to this moment, I feel like, and just getting worse and worse and worse. This is why these white lies that you start off with that you think are harmless, if you don't sort of deal with them pretty soon and sort of swallow your pride and admit to the facts, or just be honest with whoever it is, then you can become absolutely tangled in this web like OP's boyfriend is now. It's insane. And you know what? Like I would never do this myself, but I'd be lying if I said I'd never told a white lie before, maintain that white lie to, you know, for my pride or just so I don't get found out. And then it becomes a bigger thing, which actually you're like, well, I've got to keep this up because I've already said this lie in the past, but now it's way more intense and way more than I ever thought it would be when I just said that white lie at the start. This is like the ultimate version of that where, yeah, I mean, 4 years of lies. It's crazy. What I would say from your perspective, OP, is you have just got to say to your boyfriend, this is all on you. I'm not going to lie for your sake. I'm just not going to. I'm going to tell the truth the whole time because that's who I am as a person. And if you want to maintain this lie while I'm saying the opposite, that's on you. And this is your family, so you're going to have to deal with the consequences. You can do whatever you want, and the way you act in this dinner and with your family and me in general is up to you, of course. But, you know, I'm going to tell the truth. And if you want to keep lying, that's on you. Now, I think you say that to your boyfriend and then your boyfriend has a choice to make. Does he maintain this lie and, yeah, just become even more of a coward? That's ultimately what he's doing. And I get it, like he's put himself in this position, but he's done it to try and appease his parents over the years, and now it's just got too big for him. But what might happen at this dinner? Like you say, or your boyfriend's parents ask you, or how's your job going? You just say what your actual job is, and then just be honest. They say, oh, hang on, but we thought your job was this. You say, no, it's this. Then you see how your boyfriend reacts. If your boyfriend then says, wait, hang on, honey, no it is, that's not your job, blah blah blah, and he still wants to maintain this lie, then that's a question about your relationship with him ultimately, and you think, do I want to be with somebody that's lying about my job to his family? No. If he then at that moment comes clean and says, this is what's been happening over all these years, then there you go. The risk that you take by going along with this lie for now is that I know he said that when you get back, he'll come clean and he'll tell his family over the phone. He might not do that. And in fact, I would say that he's probably not likely to do that. It's been such a long time anyway, right? It's been 4 years. Why now? If anything, like this could go on forever, indefinitely. I think it's up to him what he wants to do, but you have got to tell the truth if that's what you want to do. Those are my thoughts. Let's see what the comments on Reddit were saying. And of course, we've got an update to come for this one as well. Somebody said, and they quoted this, his parents paid for our tickets. Would the nice thing to do just be close my mouth and let him sort this out on his own when we get home and just play along? Well, actually, why would continuing to lie to these people be the best way to repay them for your flight? That's a good question. OP replied, I just meant that I don't want to be the reason there's a huge blowout if this is something that I should be letting him keep between them, the people directly affected. I didn't mean I want to thank them by being a horrible person. I get what OP's saying. Like, they pay for you to come out there, have a good time. If you are the one that tells them, I suppose, that their son's been lying, then you, I guess, are the reason why the trip's not going to go well, even though you're obviously not. It's actually just their son. Somebody else said, I don't think you can ever trust your boyfriend again. He's lying because he's afraid to disappoint his parents, and there's no reason he wouldn't do the same to you. If he gets fired from his job, he might just pretend he's still going to work every day and never tell you. If he cheats on you, he'll never admit it. If he goes into debt, he'll keep it secret and pretend everything is fine while it continues to get worse. He didn't tell you about the situation with his parents until the last minute when he had no other option except the option to come clean, which he didn't take. That is the level of truthfulness and integrity you can expect from him. He'll lie to you when it makes him look better or to cover for one of his previous lies, and he'll tell you the truth when he's all out of other options. That is a great comment, and I'd actually forgotten what OP said. Is this an indication of what else he might do, what else he might lie about? And I think I have to agree with this comment. Yes. If he's willing to lie to his parents, he's definitely willing to lie to you, and that is very, very worrying. OP replied, it's really hard to swallow that. I do see what you're saying though. The same person then said, I'd be more understanding if his parents had impossible standards that he could never live up to, and he had to lie to them to just maintain his peace and sanity. But that's not the impression I'm getting. It sounds like he's been lying about a lot of things for a long time, and he still thinks he can get out of it by telling more lies. I would tell him to come clean with his parents before dinner, because you won't cover for him. If he does it and actually faces the consequences of his lies for once, maybe he can learn something from this and change his ways. Great comment once again from this user. OP said, yeah, that's true. And yes, his parents weren't expecting a surgeon or anything. They think he teaches, but he's an architect. It's still they think he teaches, but he's an architect. Being an architect, in the UK at least, is one of the hardest things to be. It's extremely challenging to qualify as an architect. It's a 7-year course to become an architect. That's insane. Why does he not feel comfortable telling his parents that? Yeah, being a teacher is great, but it's harder to become an architect. Like, just statistically. That's just the facts. Anyway, OP continues, it's still an awesome profession and in no way lesser than a teacher, so I don't understand it at all. I think I'll have to tell him. Either he has to come clean, or I'm answering honestly at dinner. Great. I completely agree with all of that. Somebody said, yeah, that is weird. I feel like most people think of an architect as being more prestigious than a teacher. OP says, exactly. I wouldn't say necessarily more prestigious, but equally as respectable as a career choice is definitely what I would say to that. As I said, it's very hard to become an architect. I actually did an internship at an architect firm a long time ago now, and those guys work very hard, and as I said, it takes 7 years to even qualify as one. Finally, somebody said, what I don't understand is that the guy is an architect when his parents wanted him to be a teacher. How can he think so poorly of his own parents who paid for his education to assume they wouldn't respect his choices? Unless they're crazy strict or abusive, I don't understand why you would conceal so much. OP replied, yeah, it's a fabulous job and he has wonderful parents. I'm sure they'd be incredibly proud. His younger sister is a McDonald's manager and they treat her promotions as they would if she had just made partner at a law firm. There's no way they'd be disappointed. I feel so frustrated at him, and honestly, I feel betrayed for his parents. They paid his way. It's so frustrating to feel trapped in this situation. Very, very interesting stuff. I've already given my thoughts, so let's get straight into the update. There are actually 2 updates here, but let's get into... Actually, there are 3 updates. Sorry, but let's get into the first one. So, I decided to tell him that I won't be perpetuating the lies, but I won't outright say anything because I don't feel like it would be appropriate for me to be the reason that everything blows up. I actually decided not to go to the first family dinner, and I'm unsure if I'm going to stay at this point, but I don't really know what to do. I didn't pay for the ticket, so I feel really horrible about seeming ungrateful, but I got a hotel for 3 nights just to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm still thinking because everything is just so intertwined and complicated, our bank accounts, our rental agreement, etc. So apart from the fact that I want to make this relationship work because I love him, it's also not really simple enough for me to just break away and leave. I want to work this out for everyone and figure out how to help him tell his family before we go. Anyway, I'm so sorry I'm so late for updating, but I'll update again when I have a more concrete plan. His family is amazing, and I feel wretched about everything. This is the thing that's so interesting to me, as another commenter said. If his family and his parents were just unbelievably pressurizing on him and just they had the most unrealistic expectations of what they wanted from their son, I would understand his actions a lot more. But it seems like they're not at all like that. I mean, the thing with his sister's job kind of just shows that.
Anyway, the next day we did get an update.
Okay, I think we have come to what will hopefully be the start of a resolution. So, I told his mum that I was so incredibly grateful for her generosity so far, even just one day into the trip, which is why I actually needed to take some time away and stay at a hotel for a few days, because staying with her didn't feel right until we cleared up some serious personal issues that have just come to light. I talked to my boyfriend and we decided on a plan. Tomorrow morning, his mum and dad are meeting us in a restaurant in the hotel. I offered to take them to brunch to discuss everything. I told him and his mum, separately, that I really want to be a part of this family, and for that to happen, we all need to have a big conversation. The plan is, at brunch, my boyfriend is going to lay everything out on the table. I'm going to explain to them that I didn't even realize the lies that have been going on, and I wasn't comfortable staying there and lying to their face, and that I just found out about this the day we landed. I wanted to make sure that my boyfriend resolved this with them, because from the moment I found out, I felt horrible, and I wanted to get off on the right foot with them. We both wanted to make sure that my boyfriend came clean while we were here. When I was talking to my boyfriend, there were definitely some tears, and I think he's going to feel so much weight off his chest when we finally talk about this. I really don't think he wanted or intended for this to happen. I don't think he would have brought me here if he wasn't okay with the truth eventually coming out. I will definitely update when the conversation happens. Thank you so much for the advice and support, everyone. Okay, now before we get into the third and final update, I just want to have a look at some comments. Somebody asked, is this a cultural thing maybe? I know some ethnicities get so much trash from parents, kids learn to just lie reflexively. Of course, you should break up, but since you don't want to snoop on his actual life, he's likely lying about what he's lying about. OP replied to that saying, I don't think so, honestly. They're pretty secular, white-bread Irish folk. I honestly couldn't see it being cultural. But maybe, I guess, I'm not sure what Irish people are normally like with their kids. Now, somebody else said, and this is super interesting, maybe the boyfriend is lying about being an architect. I suppose if he's lying about what you do to his parents, he could be lying about what he does to you. But OP said, I know for sure he is an architect. I'm not worried about that part, genuinely. He does a lot of work from our home office. We also hosted the Christmas party for his office the last 2 years, so I know his bosses and co-workers really well. I'm 100% positive they would have corrected me or not mentioned him during conversations and discussions about design projects. He's in a semi-senior role at his work, and I frequently stop by his office after work. We usually meet in the reception area to drive home. His office also has his name and job title, Project Manager, on his door. Trust me, he could not be fabricating the career with me so close and our general relationship with the office. Not trying to argue with you or anything, as I'm sure there's other lies, but his career and our bills are totally kosher. There's no worries there. Imagine if your boyfriend had gone through that unbelievable amount of effort to lie about being an architect as well, and had hired some actors for your Christmas parties, had hired a reception area, and made a sign with his name on it and project manager. That would be elite, but sadly that's not the case. OP continues, I'm an industrial designer and I'm familiar enough with the career and I've worked long enough in the field that I would catch a lie about his work pretty instantly. My guess is that it's something to do with his parents funding him and assuming he has an education degree because that's what he told them he was taking for some reason. Whether he knew right away that wasn't what he was going to do or he changed once he got to school, I honestly have no idea. We hadn't met at that time yet. That's the reason it's so strange and frustrating for me, because he has a fabulous career. These are the things that ultimately right now that you know that he's been lying all this time, you need to work out and you need to ask him about. Okay, so this is the final update posted 2 days later. It feels like so much to have to type out, so I'm going to try to condense it to be as straightforward and simple as possible. Basically, the brunch went really well. I was very impressed by my boyfriend. He was actually really forthcoming and laid pretty much everything out. He apologized to me and his parents, and he gave me an opportunity to tell them anything I wanted to tell them about my actual family, my life. They were really interested, and it was really refreshing just to start to get to know them on an honest level. He basically came clean about absolutely everything, including some other personal stuff that I didn't even know about that he had told myself and them. He apologized and promised he was going to take steps to earn our trust back, including therapy. It really actually felt like it brought us closer together. His parents were quite hurt and initially upset, but I think it really did a lot for what they thought of me as a partner for their son and future daughter-in-law, which I'm really happy about. They were really supportive in the end and told him that basically at the end of the day, he is still loved and they will just have to start building that trust up again. I'm going to continue staying at their house now, and they will tell his siblings together. I actually ended up sitting down for a cup of tea at their place with his mum, and she did explain to me that she's going to talk to him privately about the pressure he might have felt to lie to them, because I guess they realise now that they put more pressure into him than any of the other kids, because he was originally going to follow his dad's footsteps as an English teacher. She told me that she really likes me, and she hopes it doesn't affect my view of their family or her son. She thanked me for pushing for the honesty, and she can't wait for the opportunity to get closer to us. My boyfriend also seems so much more open to having conversations about coming back and having them come stay with us. It really worked out in the long run for me to not make any hasty decisions, because I'm really happy with how this turned out. To me, it just seems like just mistakes on both ends that culminated in a really bad choice on his end. Thank you again, everyone, for the advice. Okay, and there we go. That is the end of that story. A good ending, to be honest. I was slightly worried that this wasn't going to be resolved, but it sounds like it has been, and you guys are going to be able to move forward from this. And yeah, everything's going to be good, which is sweet, because it would be a shame if this was like a really big character trait of your boyfriend, that he was just too scared to tell the truth, or didn't tell the truth often for whatever reason, and you weren't ever able to trust him again. Obviously, like, you're still going to have to build trust in him, as are his parents. But yeah, the fact is, at least he's now owned it. You helped him massively, of course, but what he's just done there is the hardest bit. Now it should be a lot easier. And hopefully as well, now he'll think, well, I'm never doing that again. Look at that web of lies that I got tangled in. That was horrible. Now, the reason I really enjoyed that story is because it's actually, I can resonate with it quite a lot. One of my friends did something very similar to this. And sort of, all of a sudden got trapped in his own web of lies. Lost his job, didn't tell us about it, was kind of pretending that he was still going to the job, etc., etc. And it was a bit weird. And ultimately, when we talked to him about it, I think the main thing was he was just too proud to actually openly say, listen, I lost my job. Or, I'm not getting paid, etc., etc. And he didn't tell his parents either. So they and similar to this, like, they're not super demanding of him, or they're not like, they don't ask crazy things or pressure him, I don't think, to, do things that are unreasonable or have an unreasonable career. It's just sort of the pressure that he puts on himself. And when that happened, he I suppose just didn't want people to know about it, couldn't really face that fact. But again, like with all these things, the truth is always eventually going to come out. And then I feel like now, if that was to happen to him again, he would act completely differently for the better, because ultimately, like, if you do lie about these things, and I'm a bit more like that, like if that happened to me, I'd be like, oh, that's like absolutely gutting, maybe slightly embarrassing, whatever. And I wouldn't want people to know. I feel like shame, which you shouldn't, because everyone loses their job. Or he didn't even lose his job. It was just that comment that was saying if he gets fired from his job, he might pretend he's still going to work every day and never tell you. Yeah, that happened to me. But again, like, I can kind of see it. Like, you're just too proud. But ultimately, it's going to hurt you not telling the truth. And also, the main point is, if you do lose your job, or if you don't have a career that your parents necessarily wanted you to have, even though that wasn't really the case in this story, like, everyone is still going to love you, surely. Because who really cares what job anyone has, ultimately? I don't care. As long as you're happy, as long as people are happy, then that's all good. It's sad that OP's boyfriend felt this way for such a long time. I can't imagine, like, the mental torment that was going on, like the anguish. But as I said, I feel like now it's resolved, and this shouldn't happen in the future, because he will always think back to how terrible this was, maintaining this lie for so many years.